I live?
Hot mic, hot mic.
Hot mic, all right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 19th school board meeting. This one starts off a little unique in that for a matter of minutes, it gets to be my meeting while we reorganize the board and welcome our new members. So first up on the agenda is the swearing in of our newly elected board members. So you can see our district clerk down there has just sworn in Mr. Jason Baker. Now she is coming down to do Mr. Rick Walker. So we'll give her a minute to take care of that.
You have to raise your right
And then we will continue on our agenda.
That's exactly as it states, putting your name in both of those places.
He just wanted to make sure that everybody could see it, that he was wearing, in fact, a watch.
I got him right before the wires.
Like, just watch. It's like,
It's not this, that one's public record now.
Thereon self as God. I, Rick Walker, solemnly and sincerely swear and affirm that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent on me as a 3-year member of the Barrington School Board, according to the best of my abilities, agreeable to the rules and regulations of this Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
That was one of them, my apologies. Unless we're talking about masks. Yeah. Never again.
just on the one time.
I'd have gone home and exercised.
I'd want to know. Me too, but I couldn't see it on the side.
Excellent.
So it would be great if you did. Actually.
All right. Excellent. We are good to go. So the next part of our agenda is nomination and election of officers, policy statements, which we have done. So board members always sign our ethics policy statement that they have received all of the policies that they need to abide by. They have taken care of that. And then once we do committee assignments and the pledge, it will turn over to the newly elected board chair. So here we go. That is where we are, nomination and election of officers. So I look to all of you for a nomination for board chair.
I'd like to nominate Moira Taylor as board chair.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Looks like we have a unanimous for Moira as board chair. Given that, I'm going to hand you a teacher contract to sign. Time like the present. Okay, so our next position is the board vice chair. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Carrie Neal for vice chair.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Excellent. Any discussion? Hearing crickets, we now have a new chair and vice chair.
Well, we probably should just officially vote, though.
Sorry, officially we need to vote on that. Yes, we should.
Way to go, chair.
Nicely done.
Running already.
I jumped ahead. No discussion. Do we have a vote on that nomination? All
Aye.
those in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. Thank you. And the next one is a secretary for non-public sessions. Do we have a nomination for that?
Garth Svensson.
Garth is an old pro at that position. Do we have a second? Oh, we have a second for Ms. Neal. Any discussion on that? And all those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Thanks, Garth.
You're welcome.
So happy.
Proud.
All right, so now,
cards updated.
as you would expect, we have several standing committees that board members participate on, as well as staff and administration. So we will now go through the assignment of those roles. So the first one is everybody's favorite policy.
It is my favorite. I would ask
I mean-
to stay on that.
And Garth, just that hand shot right up. So is there any discussion or
Unless
from the rest of the board?
I think
Round
Carrie and
policy.
Garth have done an excellent job on that committee. And they're willing to continue, so.
We love it. Truly, actually. Okay. I don't need motions on committees.
No.
No.
Facilities Committee. Who's,
Yeah, I would do that.
All right, we typically have two. Is there a second member who would like to join us?
I'll do it again.
Okay. Garth and Rick, excellent. And Wellness Committee.
I'd like to stay on that, but I think it's a great opportunity for perhaps Jason to utilize this as just
Waving my pen over here. I don't want to interrupt.
Jason under the bus.
All right, everybody's good looking, okay with that? Excellent. Carrie and Jason. Technology Committee. That has had one member in the past. Certainly, we can add a second if people are interested.
Don't look at me, I can't turn the computer on.
I'd like to stay on
just-
it. I'm doing it currently. They meet quarterly.
Any interest in a second spot, or are we good with Carrie continuing on that committee?
If anyone is interested, it does meet only meets quarterly. It's not monthly. Like
Throw me
super
on.
fun
Throw
policy.
you on? Okay,
Technology's great.
excellent.
When my iPhone goes down, I have to hand it to my kids.
And Select Board Liaison. So we have had two people in the past so that they can kind of communicate and share the load, given that it's another evening commitment.
I would like to do that, I go to the meetings anyway.
Yes, you do. All right. Are you wanting to attend them all and take that task on individually, or does anybody want to share in that?
I'd like to share in that.
Great. All righty. So just to give the audience a little bit of a refresher, we, as we all may know, we send to 3 different high schools here in Barrington. Oyster River and Dover have contracted agreements, and Co-Brown is a 1-year, well, it's been different configurations, but currently it's a 1-year MOU. So given that all 3 of them are up next year, we certainly want to make sure we have a high school contract negotiation committee members ready to take on that task.
Question for you.
Yes.
Because I'd be interested in working on 2 of them, but because I'm employed by the Dover School District, I think that would be a conflict. Do we need the same people on all of them?
No.
I'd be happy to step in and share the responsibility so that Moira can use her wealth of knowledge for the other schools.
So just to give a little bit of history on the Oyster River piece, we did put together a draft. Obviously, it's still in draft form because it's not due until next year, and the reason we worked through that this year was because there were significant members on the Oyster River School Board and negotiation team, as well as our side as well, that had that history. So we wanted to, work through that to just give a little bit of a boost to the incoming board as we were working. So that is further along in the process than the other agreements.
I'll do Oyster River with Moira.
Okay. Oyster River will be Garth and Moira. Okay, and then we have the Dover one as well,
Well, Carrie, I'm in a similar position with Oyster River, so I would be open for it too, just not Oyster River.
Okay.
Do you guys want to do Dover?
Yeah, that works for us.
Is that cool?
All right. So Carrie and Jason, Dover. And then I mean, you all certainly decide this. I don't know that we need a separate committee for the Co-Brown piece, given that it's an MOU, but certainly your choice on that.
I think we've ever had one.
Yeah.
I don't think we have, because it is just an MOU.
Right. Okay. Excellent. And lastly, I actually added this just for discussion this evening, and I did meet with Connor McIver, town manager, just to talk about how we could increase, improve, streamline, all of those things, our collaboration between town and school district. Where can we sort of share thoughts, ideas, potentially resources? We just met yesterday, had a couple-hour productive conversation, and instead of it, of course, I created this a long time ago, right, before we and I met. So as we were talking, it sounded like more of a collaboration, right? So maybe not even necessarily financial planning, right? Just a collaborative discussion between, Connor and I, obviously, and then if we want to comprise a new committee for that. So just wanted to bring it forward for discussion, and certainly we can add it at any time if you want to have it be a separate, more in-depth discussion past this evening. So,
Well, I fully support it being an actual committee. I do think that there's a lot of legwork to do to set it up and how it would operate, and I think that it's a great step in the right direction of what I think we've done less formally, but I think this formalizes it a bit more, and I think that that's great.
I'd like to amplify what Carrie just said, but also I think finance committees could be a little bit scary, and it is for me. I think it's more of like a communication and collaboration committee where finances might come up, but I think it's more important that, the town has got a lot of really important initiatives that are going to affect the school over the coming years. We have some things coming down the pipeline that would be good that we got on their radar screen as well. And there's some low-hanging fruit that I think that we could pick that would find some efficiencies for both sides. So.
I like that communication and collaboration committee.
so right now I have school district / town collaborative committee. You want me to add collaborative / communication committee?
Yeah, collaboration.
Collaboration.
And as many of you know, that's kind of the platform I ran on, was to get the town and the school back together when we spend $38 million of taxpayer money. It's important to show the taxpayers on both sides of the table that we're trying to use the money as prudently as possible. And so I'm a very strong supporter of starting out and looking at, as Garth said, some of the low-hanging fruit, some of the things we can do. And then the committee could look at other things as you go along, and some things will work, some things aren't. But I'm a firm believer that there are, much like we did this a few years ago, there were savings to the town. And when I say town, I mean the taxpayers. And not only that, but in some cases, we were able to provide better services either on one side or the other. So I am a firm supporter that this is a direction that we should start working toward.
So I think, Rick, you want to be on that committee?
Signed up.
Sure.
So thoughts on how we want to form it? Do we want to have, is this a one-person committee? Does somebody else want to join that? And what are people's thoughts on, once we know who the board members are going to be involved, do we get together to then talk through, how many members, how big is it going to be, how often are we going to meet, and then bring that back to the full board for discussion? Or do you already have thoughts on what you want that to look like?
I think it's too bad we couldn't get a hold of Conor MacGyver. That would be.
Yeah.
Where is that
Track
guy?
him down.
Yeah.
But I think like if you had a monthly meeting where you had the superintendent and the town administrator and then maybe 2 members, and then have them, talk about what maybe they're saying just 1 or 2 or 3, I don't know, but like let's come to some agreement. But I think at least 2.
Yes. And I think since Rick and I are both going to be part of the select board liaisons, it might make sense to start there initially, since we'll be going to the meetings, and then we can come and if we need to expand. There might be times where it just needs to be 2. It might be times where things need to be more collaborative with the group, but I'd love to start with 2.
Great. And
Conor, do you-
we actually just set monthly meetings already together, so.
You're already ahead of the game.
Can I just, Dan, do you think going back to your board that your board would be receptive to putting 2 members on?
Yeah, I think that's pretty easy. That'll be a pretty easy move.
So,
At least one.
all right.
But
So,
I think too, we didn't address that at the meeting
right.
yesterday.
And that's why I'm not trying to put you on the spot right now, but Madam Chair, if I may, I think it makes sense that we ask the town administrator and Deanna to go back to the board and Dan and to see if they'd put 2 people on and at least get the ball rolling, and then decide maybe it's going to be, maybe both of us don't need to be there on each meeting or whatever for a while.
Yeah, I think you at least have a preliminary meeting and talk about other people who should be there. Should
Yeah.
Vicki Druin be there?
Right.
Should be someone from the equivalent from the town side be there? Like that's,
We had
once-
some preliminary conversation on that, but certainly we want you all to determine what the makeup of that committee is, so.
That reasonable to you, Dan?
No, yeah, I'm taking that note to make that comment at our next meeting.
Thank you.
8th of April.
Just so, rumors spread fast around town about stuff like this, and, this is an exploration and conversation committee. This is not a,
Right.
town gets to weigh in on the school's budget committee.
Right, right.
Or vice
Or vice
versa,
versa,
right?
right.
This is a way that we can sit down and talk like rational human beings and say, hey, is there any way we can collaborate? And then we can come back to the school and talk to those interested people and say, here's what they're thinking, and the school could say, is a non-starter for us, and here's why. And we can at least turn around and say, well, we tried. That was a good idea, but it didn't work,
Right.
and vice versa for the town side.
Yep.
Great.
But I think it's important, one more thing, I'm sorry,
Go-
long-winded.
go ahead.
But, that motion did fail on both sides, right? But
did.
46% and 47% on the town side supported it. So I think it's good that we're giving attention to those folks' perspectives and saying, we heard you, like, we're,
Sure.
we're gonna try it our way, so.
And having to regularly report out at meetings, both of our public meetings, I think will be very helpful in keeping transparency,
Yep.
since there was such a great deal of support from our voters, so.
Well, I think too, in our meetings, we were clear that we thought there was room for improvement for collaboration, and so this is the first step in that, so.
And if I may, it was never my intention, I'll take the heat for being the one to have put a petition warrant article up. It was never intended to co-join budgets or anything like that, because it's, state law says that the way our government's set up, school has their government and budget, and as does the town. Again, my look at this was to, and I think we can do it through collaboration as well, was to make sure that when big ticket items came up, either on the town side or the school side, that both government entities were aware of it, so that people could put heads together and say it makes sense, or this needs to get done first, so let's work on getting this done and then this, and put something in an order that the taxpayers are willing to support. If you go to the taxpayers and say, hey, we're going to build a Taj Mahal and 3 high schools and a new town hall.
Taj Mahal and 3 high schools.
And, people are going to say that this
bold initiatives
isn't,
on night
this is not affordable. So, I know that there's some, it looks like this elementary school is going to need an addition. Public safety building needs an addition. There's some pretty significant infrastructure items coming down, road work that needs to get done. So it's important that both sides sit down and look at these and put them in an order in which it's palatable to the taxpayers, and say, all right, let's do this here and this here. And that was my intent behind a joint budget committee, not.
We'll make a great team. Thank you for suggesting that.
Are you ready for the pledge? We have some pledges.
Yes, before I hand the meeting over to you.
Oh, no, we have to do is it the review of policies?
No, we already did all that. So just a point of kind of order for, since some of you are new, so we have tried to get away from paper. I put paper in front of you tonight because 2 new members aren't aware of that. So typically, you would have computers in front of you. The packet would be pulled up online. Some people prefer paper. Think about it, let me know what you want to do moving forward, just so that I can meet you where you're at.
If you just put the technology guy on speed dial on my phone, I'll be all right.
He's right over there.
Yeah, he's over there, he's here every meeting.
He's always
It
behind
will
the
be
counter.
pulled up for you, ready to log in, and it
push
just
that
allows us
button.
to save all these trees.
I still just like a paper agenda, 'cause
Agreed,
that's where I
yep.
take my notes. Thank you.
Okay, and you want a full packet?
Yeah.
I'm good on the computer as
You're good
long
on
as
the
I have a
computer.
paper
But
agenda.
I'll take
Computer.
an agenda.
Agenda.
Yeah.
I'll have what Garth's having. Computer and agenda.
Guards have it, ditto. Perfect,
All right.
excellent. It's all yours, I'm done.
All right, so I think there's a couple of you introducing pledgers.
Yes, so I'll introduce mine, and then Mr. Boardman's going to introduce his, and then together, both schools will all say the pledge. It's going to be a nice, loud, and proud pledge tonight. So I have 4 ECLC students here tonight, and I'm so proud that they're here, in a world where elections can stir the best and the worst of society. Barrington certainly did its best, and we had the Barrington kids vote at the election. If any of you remember this, how many of you students voted in the election, right? So fun. So part of that was students could design the stickers. So these 4 students all designed stickers that were on the ballot. So they really did some great work showing I know, I think Oliver showed some great color, and Riley had some great attention to detail, and you had some fun imagination in yours, right? And Sophia also just had some great artwork in her sticker as well. So that's why they're here. I have to give a shout out to Mrs. Dow, who made this an activity in her whole classroom, which again, I think is just a great way to foster civic engagement in our students. So, because they're our future, right? They're our future board members, and we certainly have a bright future with these four here. So, that's all I really have to say. So they're ready to do the pledge. We've been practicing and whatnot, but we're going to wait just a few minutes, okay? Because we're going to hear about some great inventions. So we'll scoot over here. Okay. There we go.
And I also have some pledgers here tonight. So we recently, many of you were there, but in mid-February we had our annual Invention Convention, which is always a wonderful event. We have just so many students who showcase their imagination, their hard work, obviously very supportive families as well. But it's not just the invention, it's also being able to talk about their invention. And so I thought it'd be nice to bring on some of our winners. So this weekend, we're hoping, I think I heard, like if UNH can get their stuff together, they should have kind of the state competition at UNH, and part of that is going to need to be able to talk about their invention for, like, I think the time frame was 3 to 6 minutes. They do not have that time limit tonight, but I did just want to introduce them each kind of one by one, have them quickly just say what their invention was and give you like the 15-second synopsis of it. So, so first grade, if Ryan and Murdoch could come on up.
My name is Ryan Hatfield.
What's the name of your invention?
The catastrophe alarm.
The catastrophe alarm, awesome. And like, what does it do?
It keeps cats from getting lost.
Perfect. Thank you. Awesome. Awesome job, Ryan. Murdoch, come on over.
My name is Murdoch Hussey, and I built a robot teeth brusher.
And what does it do?
It brushes teeth for you.
And so in second grade, I have Berkeley and Molly. Come on down.
My name is Molly Geyer. My invention is called the Stink Bug Succopator 5000.
Can you show us? Perfect. Thank you. All right, good job, Molly. Berkeley.
My name is Berkeley Kumba. I'm in second grade. My invention was the Smart Mirror. It is a mirror that helps you decide what you decide what to wear in the morning based on the weather and what activities you are doing that day. It knows what items are clean and helps decide if they still fit, so you don't have to waste time trying them on.
In third grade, if Alex and Sylvie could come on down.
My name is Sylvie. I'm in third grade, and my invention is called Bird Vision. It stops birds from flying into windows. My name is Alex, and I made the Comfort Crutches 2000. They're crutches with an arm strap to keep the crutches on your body, a flashlight to help you see in the dark, and footwear to give you traction.
And Lillian and Ruby, come on down.
movie. Independence.
What does it tell us about it?
It helps kids with disabilities swing by themselves. Why? By using a lever.
Very cool.
That's really cool.
So again, thank you. Yeah. So we have some amazing student artists at the ECLC, and we have some awesome inventors at BES. And you guys, we're proud of you all for just the way you represent the Barrington community. And so we're going to ask you. We'll kind of count to three, but we're going to lead the pledge. All right. So we're going to ask everybody to please stand and join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
So hold on one second, folks. Thank you for coming and for your great artwork and your great invention. Nice job with the pictures and those inventions were fantastic.
It's like the most spin.
Like, we might have to reorder.
I know. First time in like 20 years we've had to reorder the
I just
flag
ordered them
pin.
this year. But we've given up.
You're all welcome to stay.
Yes!
It's exciting. They're like,
Thank you.
Just that for 20 minutes.
everybody files out. Intermission, everyone.
Might be a good idea to just bring up the thing about the kids voting and the fact it was almost.
Oh, Dan.
Just like that, no one likes us.
No one likes us.
The overview.
We were talking about masks.
Not going
The other
back
thing
in
is
there.
that
See you
to
tomorrow.
try to find ideas for the kids to vote on next year too. Because
All right.
we had forager trucks, so that was.
So we ready to move on?
Ready to move on?
Any changes to the agenda?
There or not?
Shut that. Oh, wait.
The winners.
Keep going, keep going, keep going. I'm just gonna. People are taking
Does anyone want to make a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so approval of the minutes, so Gareth and Carrie, you two have to make the motion?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, you do.
Carrie, any changes?
I didn't see anything.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 5th for both public and non-public.
I will second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 3 ayes and 2 abstentions.
Abstentions. Aye.
All right, our first opportunity for public comment. If you are online, feel free to raise your hand, and I can't see that far, but we'll start with folks in public. Anyone? No hands. Okay, there is another opportunity, so fret not.
You have to say that every meeting now.
That was really funny.
Every meeting.
We get t-shirts made.
Fret not.
All right, Dan, please bring us to order.
Again, congratulations to all the board members, the new board members, but also those who worked so hard to get that budget through. And I think the community really appreciated that effort as well. Certainly we did. I was reelected, so the board basically stays the same. We're all going to keep the same liaison commitments that we have, so you're stuck with me for another year. Yeah, this will make 4. You're working our way down. Rick and I had not discussed this committee, as he proposed just a few minutes ago. But I think I can be fairly sure to tell you that the select board will certainly want to be part of this, and we'll organize it however we choose to. If you're going to put in two, we'll put in two, and that sort of thing. I just met with the library board. Their board stays the same. Their building committee, of course, is going to be very active in the next year and a half. And we did agree, just FYI, for the to agree on the electric coalition that we are going to become members of. So that may impact us as hopefully the price of electricity will come down. I think that would be good for all of us. So we'll work on that. Any questions of me, other than the fact that I've lost my voice?
Dan, will you just touch a little bit on the, for the audience that watching this, on the kids vote and the number of kids that voted and stuff?
Very good. Thank you. Yes, and thank you, both the principals, but certainly the whole group. There were 424 children voted, which by quick calculation is a little over 50% of the student body in this town, which is better than the 40% that we had for the municipal, which incidentally is a record since SB. We agreed to meet as SB2. This is the highest turnout of any election we've had. So the rest of the community as well. 424 people voted. The Boston Globe was very impressed with that. Currently, we're the only town in the state that has a kids' election. I think many more probably will follow. But in addition to being a good idea, your support, especially at the elementary school and ECLC, and I think we have some plans for middle school for next year, too, that will be very much involve your students and everyone. So really, that's, the other stuff, the budgets and all that sort of thing, who cares? But what was really exciting was the 424 kids who voted. They all signed in, and all their sign-in will be in the town hall for the rest of the year. So, again, thank you for your support. It was really essential to making this work, so thank you. Any other questions? Thanks, Rick, for reminding me. We need to go there. Good. Thank you all.
Thanks, Dan.
High school choice spring process?
So back to our 3 high schools. We had spoke briefly in the past year or so about this coming up and how we wanted to handle that with the community, if at all. So do we want to invite the 3 high school people in to share with, at a parent forum night or something like that? We, like you all did probably 10 plus years ago, to just highlight the why and the different things that they offer, to gauge where the community's at with, our choice model, or do we feel pretty confident? I think we do, that that has been a great model for us. So just to know where the board's thoughts were on that at this point.
I'm not sure if it's an either or. I think it's a great model, but I think it's a good idea to have the 3 schools come in and pitch the parents.
I agree with that.
Great. So thoughts on a time frame for that?
When do the parents need to, or students need to make a choice?
Well, if we're going to make any changes, we would want to be part of the budget process for next year. So
Okay.
that's why I was thinking this spring.
Yep.
And, it's been a long time since they've come in and shared with us what they all do. So might be a good idea for families to be able to hear that. I'm trying to be conscious of, how busy people's schedules get in the spring with sports and different commitments and, graduations. And so,
We're doing the fall?
think fall's a little late budget-wise, and
Could you pull it together late April, do you think? Do you think?
Well, with the vacation
Like,
week,
oh,
end of
okay,
April
yeah.
into May, I was thinking right when we come back, like the first or second week of
Yep.
May.
I think we're in May, and then it allows the students and parents to know exactly, they might already rule out high school in the fall, or it might even turn them on to looking at all of their options in the fall.
I mean, to be clear, this isn't about like families picking a school. This is about us continuing on with our relationships with the three schools.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
And it is and I think it's also helpful for those first-time parents who have not gone through understanding a three-choice
Right.
option, and there is a lot of speculation that goes around just trying to understand how all of that works. So I think it's a great opportunity to crowd them in. I think there'll be many parents who are like, been there, done that, I know the process, but it would be great for people who might not.
So how would we do this, like at the middle school in the auditorium type of thing and have,
that's how we did it last time.
that predates me.
All in one night, they each get up and make their pitch.
Yeah, so that's what I want to know more about. How did we do it before? Do we want a similar format, and who has recollection of that? Because I was also not here.
None of us are old enough to have been there back
I wasn't
then.
on the board.
I was still in middle
So
school.
as someone who was old enough to be there,
As a student, right, Moira?
Yes.
so, each school, I mean, it was a little different because we had other schools that were also pitching.
Yes.
But each school just came and gave a presentation. So I think like if you told them they had like 15 to 20 minutes to talk about their
Okay.
school, that is probably ample for them. Because they're not going to get down into the minutia of their schools, but they're just going to say, this is what they offer, and this is what comes with our contracts. And then, let the public know that these are the options. Because it should go beyond just our parents, because it's our whole community that supports it, so.
Absolutely.
Also, charts, and you've got like little stickers, and there's sort of some survey questions, and you put your stickers somewhere.
What were your priorities? And then there was also like, and the public got to weigh in on, which communities we move forward with negotiating.
So that was going to be my next question. So that was part of really setting up the model, right? So do we want some sort of well, I think if we're going to bring parents in, right, and have a presentation, then we need to have a way to gain some kind of feedback from them. So I can certainly create some questions and bring it back to the board for review and input. And if you all have certain things that we want to make sure that the community, I keep saying parents, but you're right, Moira, it's a bigger community, tax-based decision. So if there's things that we definitely want to make sure we give them the opportunity to weigh in on.
Yeah, and we also have to think about how to get that messaging out.
Yeah.
We don't do a fantastic job of messaging out beyond our school community.
So thank you for bringing that up. We have given the Portrait of a Learner and some of our NESDEC requirements, not NESDEC, sorry, NEASC, my
I was like,
N,
NESDEC.
not NESDEC, my N acronyms got confused. We have partnered with the chamber, and they've been posting stuff for us, and we got a great response to businesses and community members being on the Portrait of a Learner committee. So I think we are starting to find those inroads to communicate more effectively with the community at large. So I can certainly reach out to Connor to look at some of, the getting it out on the town website as well, and using the chamber again to post and just trying to reach as many people as we
Sounds like a
can.
great thing for us to mention during our school board update at the next select board meeting too. We can highlight that, so that's also a great opportunity.
Perfect.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that.
Our board admin workshop date.
I know it seems like
Sorry, I didn't mean to make that so audible. Sorry, I'm so excited. I am. I just.
I know it
just
seems
feels so early.
early for this, but before we know it, it's going to be April break. So historically, we've met in May for the most part. I would like to propose that we push that into July for a few reasons. One, we have a couple new members who's kind of need to get up to speed, right? But also, when we do it early, we don't have end-of-year data. So I don't know how people feel about an extra July meeting. At the April 2nd meeting, I will bring forward the school board schedule for the next school year for your review. We typically do 1 July, 1 August. So just wanted to throw that out. Right now, I'm thinking that the July meeting would be on the 16th, and then perhaps the workshop on the 30th. I don't know if people know their summer schedules yet or not. I ran this by the leadership team. Those all work for them. And certainly, if you don't know those commitments yet, we can decide the date later. I just wanted to get it on people's radar and really sort of pick the time frame more than the specific date at this point.
Don't we typically do it in May so that if we decide to do anything, that we actually have time to actuate it over the summertime? Because if we do it and make any decisions in July, you only have a couple of weeks to actually do anything, right?
Well, to be honest, when we meet in May, we have that meeting, and then there is so much leading up to the tying up of the school year, and then it's 4th of July week, and a lot of people are off. So by the time we ramp back up, we're shooting into the end of July anyway. But we don't have to wait till the end of the month. I don't know that doing it in May, I feel like not having the end of year data, is
Didn't
pretty
we have
important.
that issue last time that we tried to, or maybe I'm like mixing up meetings and committees, but where we then decided whether or not at great length if we were going to come back, right, to meet to discuss. There was something where we're like, well, now that we don't have the data, we were talking, the first meeting was like preliminary, overarching, and then we're like, we'll get back together and do the data. And I think I know we did that, but it did feel a bit disjointed.
Yeah.
I can see the value in just doing one longer one, but I know that this board has discussed in the past not doing it just readout. I know that Garth, I'm staring at Garth when I say that because not just a readout, so I think it would be great maybe for us to discuss ahead of time, I don't know, like what the topics would be, so that it's more collaborative, so that it's more productive July meeting, but I'm okay with July. It's not July 14th.
Well, that's a Sunday, so.
Oh, phew. All right.
You're off the hook on this Sunday.
It's the 16th, right?
Well, what if we did the retreat earlier in July, like July 16th, and then had our board meeting the end of July?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Flip them.
Unless you want to go 2 weeks in a row and go 16th, 23rd.
23rd would be a challenge for me,
Okay.
because it's my leadership retreat.
You don't want to do
You
that
just can't
then.
get enough of the retreats.
So just
I'm
flip the
retreating on-
topics. Keep the 16th and the 30th and just regular meeting at the end, workshop on the 16th? Does that feel better for people?
Does that feel better?
Wait, what do we, so wait,
So we'll have, instead of having our regular board meeting on the 16th, we'll do the workshop on the 16th and have our board meeting on the 30th. So it's earlier in July.
Okay.
what time do you guys want to do it?
I mean, it's summertime, so we're not bound by the school day. So do we want to do a
7
daytime, an
a.m.
afternoon, an evening? It's
7 a.m. Kidding. I won't be here, so.
I'll defer to people who don't work in a school.
Yeah, like 5-ish?
We've done 5 to 8 historically,
Yeah.
right around there.
Is
Does
it
a
okay with
5 to 8 timeframe sound good? Okay.
5 a.m., right?
Yes. And then we can, as a leadership team, start to talk about what are the bucket areas we've reviewed in the past, how we've broken into small groups and bring some thoughts forward. And then, you all obviously think that through as well and how we want to move forward with that. Great.
So can we, are we going to have that be an agenda item, like before then, so we talk
Yeah.
about what will be on?
Sure.
Some topics, okay. Maybe a month out, something like that?
Yep. I'll wait till like the first week of June, maybe, so that it's fresh when we head into that July meeting. Does that
As fresh
work
as
for
your minds
people?
can be in June.
I mean,
Thank
fair, okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that.
So what, the principal reports? Anybody dying to go first? Oh, they all look to Laura.
Chronological thing, I know, from the littles to the big ones. All right. Take one, pass it on. So it's always sort of a challenge, and we talked about this a little bit today, like how to best sort of share all there is, right? We have an awful lot happening in schools, and I have about, 2 minutes to tell you that. So how is the best way to convey all that's going on? So Deanna had asked us to talk just about enrollment, about some attendance data, celebrations, how we're sort of using the data we just got on students to move their learning forward. So what I did is, you can see this says our district goals, March. This is now, in the back is the December one, and I just added that in for comparison. I'm not going to go over that now, but I felt like Rick and Jason being new, that might be just helpful. But I'll refer to it a little bit. So the 4 areas are our 4 district goal areas. So I'm going to start with operations, which is just, again, the way we do business, safety drills, staffing retention, working with the bus company, all those things. So basically, there's some numbers there. It shows our current, I have 161 students. That's an increase of 3 since I last reported out. You can see the breakdown there. We've done 7, I should say drills, not fire drills, with an increase of 3 since I last reported. You can see our special ed percentages. Preschool is high because it is a special education program. It should be. You can see the numbers of students that are speech path and OT are working with both those students that are identified and then those students that are seen informally as a preventative measure to try to have them not be identified. And then you can see the other, we have a couple of students with 504 plans. We have 1 student currently receiving ESOL services. 5 bus write-ups, which if you look to December is the same number. I'm not sure if the bus drivers are just sick of doing write-ups or if the children are behaving. I think it might be the first, but I'm rolling with the 5. I looked at Tracy today, I'm like, where are the bus write-ups? So, I don't know, we'll roll with it. We currently have 15 students who have had 10 or more absences. And as I looked at those students, I wouldn't call any of those truant. They truly are mostly excused absences for illness, for family travel, and whatnot. So that's sort of the nitty-gritty. The other thing I just want to mention in this, which I don't have any data on, but in terms of staffing and retention, we do a lot to really make the culture of the ECLC a place where people want to come to work. We currently have a fitness challenge going on, and teachers in general are highly competitive. So if you see staff out walking or people in the hallway planking, is because they're earning points and want to win. We did something called Fab Fridays. Every Friday we did something fun. We had Flannel and Fruit Friday, and we had another day where we had these little matchy cards. You had to find your match. Mickey had to find Minnie, and for gift cards, which parents donated. We stocked the teachers' room again. Parents donated for that, and so all those things. Again, I'm hoping people will appreciate and not leave. So retention, that's what that's all about. Moving on to MTSSA. And B, again, if you look at the second sheet, I kind of did a quick look at that, again, to help folks understand sort of the way we do business in both math, reading, and social and emotional learning. So you can see at the bottom, Tier 1, that's what every single child gets. They're all getting Reveal. They're all getting in reading those programs, and then in Tier 1 SEL, they're all getting opportunities for these experiences. And then you can see what we're doing in Tier 2. And then Tier 3 are those students that usually are getting specialized instruction from our special education team. So, and I have some numbers on there as well to help see the data, how many kids are accessing those services. So if you go back to the first sheet, again, MTSSA is all those academic areas, and I have those listed there. That also does include our supervision and professional growth plan as well. So you can see we just had Acadian's screener done, and we found 39 students to be at risk. We were able to put 22 of those students in intervention groups. One sort of celebration for this cycle is that, who happens to be here, May Burnap, reading specialist, and Keith Nice, reading interventionist, found an hour in their day to come to the ECLC, which has increased the capacity for 6 more groups. So in that 1 hour, they're seeing 3 groups for 20 minutes, in addition to the work I'm doing with groups. And then also, we had an influx of new students, and the way that the Foundations program works is that you're supposed to start from the beginning and move on. It's a systematic program, so if a new student comes and you plop them sort of in the middle of it, it doesn't work as well. So one of our assistants, an assistant in Jamie Frost's room, is actually working on her teacher certification and is always looking for opportunities to work with small groups and students. So she's doing what we call the Foundations Reboot, which is those students are starting from the beginning and moving forward at sort of a rapid pace. So that's also increased our ability to really assure that those at-risk students are getting what they need. So we have the Guiding Coalition, and again, that's just sort of our team that meet regularly to assure that both preschool and kindergarten are working efficiently, effectively. You can see that teachers are continuing their learning with their workshops and courses. And then the last number there is our child study team plans, so that's an increase. We had 5 of those, and now we have 11. And those are plans for students that, again, it's a preventative measure to prevent a child needing special education, and those plans look really different. Some of them are academic based, some of them are more, or just a student might need OT or might need speech, or they might need more support with emotional regulation. They all look different, but again, a real preventative measure. And that's all, those are all kindergarten students. And you can see some next steps at the bottom. MTSSB, we use the DESA screener, and teachers completed that recently in kindergarten, 100 students. 8 were found to be in need of intervention, which if you look in December, it was 16. So that's pretty exciting that we've reduced that by half. And again, a shout out to Callie Height, who is doing an awful lot of work with a lot of kids, real specific work. Really, kids are in groups that are working on skill deficits. So her groups are really focused on if a kiddo needs help, if they have what we call monster feelings, they're in the monster feelings group. If a student, doesn't get along with others as well, then they might be in that social skills group, or a group on how to play games, or a group on how to set a goal and move forward. So lots of good stuff happening there. And again, just those usual, we're sending out monthly SCL newsletters. Jamie Frost does those. We meet regularly as an MTSSB team, and we have a monthly school activity, which is kind of new. And on a Friday, the MTSSB team plans them, which is a shout out to Courtney Irvine and Jamie Frost, really. And it's like go to the multipurpose room, and they're just sort of these collaborative, cooperative games that kids are taking part in that, also like the first one, if you look in the next community one, it's snowman games. So, and what's been fun is sort of we've always been like, here are the games, have the kids rotate through, and we've really honored sort of kids' choice and kids' needs, and it's more this free flowing. So we have these activities and kids choose where they need to go, which is new, and you'd think that like we would have done that in the past, but we like to make sure things are orderly and organized and safe, but the kids have been really responsive to that, like, what? I don't have to like wait in a line and just go there. I can just like free roam around the room and go where I need to go. And we're like, yeah, so I think we may do that for field day as well. So community, this is, I think, where Barrington does so well. This is a look at just how we're connecting with families, and you can see there's a whole great list of things we're doing. Again, I won't go through them, but I do want to shout out, like, all of these events everybody is taking part in them. So in addition to like, working in their classrooms and taking really good care of kids and, working on tier 2 groups with reading and tier 2 groups with teachers are also doing this, and assistants. So again, the snowman games, this MTSSB sort of collaborative teamwork promoting. Courtney, Irvine, and Jamie are doing that. The mitten tree, again, just sort of a tradition in Barrington. I mean, that's teachers knitting mittens for kids. I mean, it blows my mind. So, Lisa Smith, Pam Lindsay really did that. And what's even more amazing is they've actually taken that model to a Rochester school where kids really do need mittens. And so now we're knitting for like 2 schools and providing mittens for everyone. So Gingerbread Day, Josh Tubbs like really does this great storytelling. All the kids are out in the woods and, doing literacy and math and great things. The 100th day, of course. This year, Lisa Smith tapped the trees around her property and then took it to Spring Harvest across the road there. And they turned it into syrup, and then we had a pancake breakfast. So that was pretty fun. So again, Lisa, Pam Lindsay really leading that. We started a recycling program. That's Chris Marston and Lisa Smith, paraprofessionals. That was their goal this year. And they have students going around collecting markers and paper and recycling all sorts of things. We had this week STEM Day. Again, Jamie Frost partnered with a parent, Stephanie Castino, as a kindergartner, and got the Shipyard, which has an outreach program. They offer all sorts of things. Sea perch, I think, is what we do here in town or in the middle school. But all sorts of outreach programs they're doing, and they have one where you make these little tiny bugs. So 103 of those were created in our building on Monday. They read Rosie Revere, engineer, just a story of a female, scientist and engineer, and then the kids all got to. And what was really fun about it was the questions kids were asking, and the 3 people who worked for the Shipyard and came and facilitated it, their questioning of kids just sparked all this amazing learning. So that was fun. A readathon, Tracy Gower really leads that, runs that. Kids read 13,000 minutes, and we made $5,000. And then we had Read Across America Week as well recently. So that's a lot. I talk really fast, and I hope that that sort of encapsulates all that we're doing. And really, that's not even all that we're doing. It's busy in our little school. So. Any questions?
I heard your neighbor is moving.
Yes, my neighbor is moving.
Have you thought about what you're going to need to replace your neighbor?
We need a bookmobile, so our neighbor can just hop in her car with books and come to the ECLC. So we started talking about that actually months ago, just as a way, because that is a relationship and a connection that we don't want to lose. So we'll have a plan. Thankfully, we have how much time? A year and a bit to work something out. But Miss Wendy will always be a part, certainly, of the ECLC community, and I'm sure the other schools as well. So no definitive plans, but lots of thinking happening.
Thank you.
For those of you who don't know the neighbor, it's the library.
You're wondering.
No, I was talking about your house.
My neighbor's there forever.
Okay.
Yep. Sitting around, eating bonbons, watching paper.
Okay, this is for the Barrington Middle School report. We were asked to report out on certain things, like student attendance. So to start up, rather than just telling you that student attendance is up or whatever, I mean, our code of conduct, which has been newly implemented this year, really focuses not just on behavior. It focuses on all aspects of a student, their profile, MTSS-A, MB, and all the interventions, and student attendance and students being in school is part of it. So we've used the code of conduct to help enforce our attendance policy and our tardy policy and so forth. So as you can see, our attendance rate is up to 93% from 92% for trimester 1 and 2, which basically, that should say trimester 1 and 2 down below 2 where it says the total numbers. We have total number of days, 3,139 days absent last year. 3,000, so that'd be present. Sorry, that's present. Still making adjustments. I'm going through this. So that's basically each kid for every day they're in school. that's the total number of days in school, and that's how they come up with the 93% or the 92%. So overall, collectively, for trimesters 1 and 2, our students spent 343 more days in school for trimester 1 and 2. And realizing, remember, that they're 15 minutes longer, so that's 86 more hours as well. School-wide tardy data back in, I think it was in the fall sometime or December, I think. I brought November data. Tardy data said that we're down 45% overall for tardies this year. For trimester 1 and 2, you can see there's a big difference in the numbers. We had 928 tardies for trimester 1 last year, only 623 this year. For trimester 2, we had 1,090 tardies, and now we're down to 650. So basically, an overall reduction in our tardies of 63%. Now, that doesn't mean just like 1 minute or 10 seconds, oh, I just missed the bell. Sometimes it's up to an hour or two. So the kids are spending a lot more time in school. So as far as our suspension data, which, if the discipline is working or we are able to reduce suspensions, kids are spending more time in school. So that shows the breakdown of out-of-school suspensions. We had a total of 63 suspensions last year for trimester 1 and trimester 2. And for this year, the total is 54, so we have a 9% reduction in our out-of-school suspensions. So that's attendance. So on to how we make adjustments based on mid-year academic results for Tier 1, 2, and 3. This year, the Barrington Middle School has started, as the other schools have, a guiding coalition, and that is working on looking at data specifically and making adjustments for students, whether moving them to trimester 1 and trimester 2. So if you look at what's here, I have just some practices that we use with that affect by the guiding coalition. So for example, our Language Live, our Lit Boost in Humanities, those adjustments are made regularly using iReady data and SAS data and school data. The practice right here, this information was provided to me by Amy Baer, who is our reading specialist, who does our Lit Boost, and she basically told me how she uses iReady data to look at students and seeing where they're at, and making those adjustments for students and moving them in and out of Lit Boost. So many students have moved off IEPs and into the Lit Boost, which is good. The general ed class based on their progress from red to yellow on iReady and grade level benchmark goals. Math, of course, we have iReady math lessons. We do have an ALEX program for a limited amount of students that has for our students for advanced in our Tier 1. Also other programs that we use to supplement students in their math programs. Our RTI has been strengthened this year through the Guiding Coalition, and I want to give a shout out to everybody on the Guiding Coalition and every staff member who worked extremely hard this year to get this up and running. It's not perfect yet. We know it's not. We said we're not going to strive for perfection right out of the gate. We're going to try it, see how it works, and make adjustments as we go. So we have had some great success, which I already data down below here, but also in addition to the moving the RTI, the model, the 5th grade model that I brought representatives to talk about a couple of meetings back, where they had that ability to create additional focused instruction to meet student needs due to teachers teaching more than one subject and splitting them into clusters. It reduced student transitions. Elementary students have one classroom teacher, where the middle school teachers have 5. So all of those adjustments to the 5th grade program, and also having like 2 teachers teaching math. So they're not just stuck with one math class, so that we can sort of level and have a higher, lower, and basically meet student needs, and having multiple teachers teaching one subject. So the 5th grade, that's really showed an improvement in how we're dealing with our tiered students and making progress with them. So our iReady data overall, we made a presentation. Amy and Cassie, I want to thank them for this. This is a bigger presentation that they did for the staff at our last workshop day to review the iReady. To see how we do with RTI. So like I said, the first session of RTI was comprehension, informational text and reading. The second one was narrative writing. Now we're working on math. So we split it up in 3 different subject areas. The winter data, just even without the RTI, math students on grade level increased from 29 to 46%, so that's the green. Reading students on grade level increased from 41 to 58%. And basically the last bullet is about reading, decreased from 118 students in red to 64 students. So that's from 31% to 17%. So that was a big drop there, which is good. DESA data, we do DESA as well, so that's part of our interventions, and we look at them as far as tier 1, 2, and 3. We saw a 7% decrease in need for students overall. We saw a 9% increase in students moving to the strength category overall. And we saw our biggest shifts in grade 5th and 6th. And I think, which is great for 5th and 6th, but also I want to give another shout out to the 5th grade teachers. I think that really helped, that transitional model really helped students coming in to BMS. Did you want to add anything to that? No, you're all set? Okay, she's here. I want to recognize Elizabeth here, my partner in crime. Really great. Couldn't do without her. Celebrations. We have one thing to celebrate was we had a successful NEAS visit. We got our final report, and our self-report, we were a lot harder on ourselves, and they were like, no, you guys did really well, and you really marked yourself low. So we got a great report, which we will be working with. As you see that there, the next year thing is the area of focus that we'll be working on. We have an improvement plan that's been developed by the NEAS committee, and that is going to be presented to the board at a future date, at a future school board meeting. We are also working on our portrait of a learner, which is part of the NEAS accreditation. And also, one thing that I put in here is the homework committee has started up to come up with a standard homework policy. Right now, we're surveying staff within the school, and then eventually we'll send out a parent survey. We want to have that implemented for the fall. And then we have our upcoming events. We have Seussical the Musical coming up in April 5th, 6th, and 7th. We have our new professional lighting going up. It looks really great. I'm excited to see the show and how that is, and that's directed by Sarah Kane, our music teacher, and Tyler Chason. They were doing that together. Washington, D.C., it's happening next month. We have 134 students attending and 15 chaperones, and 4 students have been chosen to take part in the laying of the wreath ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier at Arlington National Ceremony. It was the Sean Gigax and Jeff Durrell and Matt Thompson worked on this together. They developed an essay, basically a contest, or students had to write an essay about the importance of laying the wreath, and it was chosen. We have 2 7th graders and 2 8th graders. They don't know who they are yet. They're going to be announced on Friday, and we're sending out letters to parents. And eventually they'll be at another board meeting. I'll have to bring them as pledgers to come and tell you about their experience. So for students not attending the Washington, D.C. trip, you see we have these events planned. They're going to go to Bodeborg in Malden, Mass. one day, the Barrington Movie Theater, they can see a movie, Boston Duck Tours, Hilltop Fun Center, and the Courier Museum, Audubon Wildlife Center. And one thing I did not put in here, I wanted to make sure I do a shout out for, is the middle school art show is now at the library until the end of the month. And our enrollment, we're at 396, and you just see an enrollment chart that I've been keeping since the beginning of the year. So we're down a little bit. Usually, I always found this February is either like we have people move, I don't know, it's the beginning of the year, it could be start of the year, I'm not sure, but in other schools, it's the same thing. We see shifts in enrollment. And then I just put in, just to kind of show you the decrease in our reds, from our math scores, you have the fall to winter, and the reading scores fall to winter. Any questions?
John, how does this look year over year? The iReady data.
We saw some slight improvements, like from winter to winter. You mean winter to winter?
No, yeah, year to year. So like a year ago, where did you stand as far as
We looked at that today, as a matter of fact, and there was, the percentages were a little bit higher. I think it was a little bit higher as far as slight improvements from last year to this year. It's a different cohort group too, so we have, usually don't want to compare cohorts, but, different cohorts. But overall, the middle school is doing a lot better this year than last year. And as this is what the data report, I can leave this with you guys too if you want to see it. This is what the Amy and Cassie did. Just basically really dug deep into the scores to see where the improvements were and so forth. And I can leave this for you guys as well.
I would love if you could email a copy of that to us. It
This
looks like
I
a
can
lot
email it
of.
to you. Yeah.
Looks like a lot. I don't know if we all
A
want
lot of toner in it.
share.
Yeah. No,
I
that's fine.
had a question, John.
Yes.
I think, and I apologize if you've mentioned this before. Could you elaborate on the homework survey? Is that what?
The homework
say
committee,
homework?
last year when we introduced the code of conduct,
Okay.
we talked about homework.
Yep.
And
Yes.
homework in schools.
We did
And-
discuss that. Yeah.
And basically, we said we wanted to get a committee together and do it.
So
And
this
this
is
is
the
around the same time that we started our code of conduct
Mm-hmm.
meetings. So we've already met as a committee once. We've talked about it with the staff. We've sent out a survey. Basically, what the survey now is asking teachers, what do you give for homework? What do you do when students don't do their homework? What do you feel you should be giving for homework?
Oh, so this
'Cause
is when you said survey, you're surveying.
this
staff.
is survey for staff
Okay.
right now. We're
Okay.
surveying from the staff to come up with some sort of a general consensus of where we're at as a staff. Eventually, we will send out a survey to parents. We haven't developed that yet.
Okay, that's why I was
Oh,
just
yeah,
making
no, that
sure
has
when you
not
said-
gone out yet.
Okay.
No, this is for staff right now, because we want to see where people are at. Because a lot of people, what we're finding is, that I'd like to give more homework, but I don't get it back, so why do I give it? So it's those type of things. So, and then there are people that will give the homework, and expect it back and get it
Totally
back
agree.
and so forth.
I just
So-
wanted to make sure, because I knew about the committee,
Yeah.
I assumed it sounded like it was to families, and I hadn't heard yet.
Yeah,
what
no, it hasn't
discussion
gone
was
out to
with staff,
families yet.
so-
It will go out to families eventually.
Thank you for clarifying.
Wasn't our survey of high schoolers, both at Co-Brown and Oyster River, didn't almost, not unanimously, but majority of kids come back saying they wanted more homework from the Barrington Middle School? to
It
prepare them?
varied between
But
the
it
two.
was, but it was a lot, I mean, it was,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Co-Brown High School rep felt as though she would have benefited from more homework.
Not the rep, the survey you guys did, because the kids actually said it in large.
That was Co-Brown's survey they
Yeah,
did.
and they
yeah.
said we needed a lot more
Yep.
homework in middle school to prepare us for high school. Okay, thank you.
But we heard the opposite from Oyster River, that our kids came well-prepared to handle the homework load. So, interesting.
Oyster River kids, I don't know.
We compare policy, we did pull the policies and the handbooks from Oyster River and Dover and compare. Our policy as far as what we practice and what is on our school board policy is very similar to Oyster River and Dover. So, but we do have to take in consideration, we do send students to Co-Brown, that there are, they do have a different and more intense policy. But we're looking at all three and trying to come up to a happy medium.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
John, if I may, and I'll apologize for being new, briefly, because we send kids to Oyster River and we send kids to Dover and Co-Brown, how do we work through the middle school process? Because I'm sure Oyster River has a little bit different curriculum than Dover does, which is different than Co-Brown. I mean, I know back when I was in a one-room school and into school, when I went to Spalding, the Barrington kids, we struggled a little bit in math. We were okay and all the other stuff, but the teachers up there knew that they had to work with us with math. So that kind of begs the question, and more of a curiosity, is how do we adjust? How does Barrington adjust? Because you obviously don't know where the kid's going to go in the beginning, right?
Right.
So when you say how do we adjust our instruction or our recommendations for students or?
Yeah, so I was wondering how do you teach the kids to prepare them to kind of ride the middle because you don't know which school they're going to go to? I guess, is that a fair, am I asking in a fair way?
That's a good point, and that's what we're trying to look at the homework policy. That we can't, expect all of our kids, because they're not all going to Co-Brown. We could cause a lot of stress if we try to do that type of, in the middle school, that intense kind of homework policy. So we want to get to that middle ground where I think it's more about the accountability of students and what our expectations are. Just like I said, we developed expectations through our code of conduct for discipline and attendance and tardies, and we've enforced those and we have seen results, positive results. So once we develop a homework policy, and it's the same thing, we're using the same questions. What do we want our kids to do, learn for homework? What will we do once if they haven't done it? What will we do when they exceed, or always doing the homework? So that's basically what we're looking at, is how do we not just assign more homework, how do we prepare kids to do the homework and to understand the importance of doing the homework, and not just think it just doesn't count.
Curriculum?
Yeah, I was looking at more from a
Curriculum?
curriculum base, John, is like, so if Dover has one curriculum, and I'm sure Oyster is a little bit different.
So, those of us who have been on the board, we have joint board meetings with
Yep.
all those boards, and also have high school representatives. And aside from the homework thing, consistently, every high school rep has said that they've been well-prepared. We hear from the high schools and the superintendents that our students are well-prepared.
And
So-
departmental teams meet. I'm not using the right verbiage. I'm so sorry. I'm looking at the teachers because they're probably like thinking of an acronym that in education that I'm not remembering. But I do know very often, which has been wonderful, our high schools will meet with our middle school departmental teams and discuss where we're at numbers-wise, but then what are we doing with curriculum? Have they made any changes? And how do we kind of bridge that together? Yeah, and that happens, I think, much more than once a year. So.
Perfect,
But I also
thank you.
I think that the high schools do give us more opportunities than we take advantage of. I think that Co-Brown, for instance, offers to have folks come over and sit down but we don't, folks are busy, but
We have been far greater participants this year in those Bridges meetings.
Oh, great, Bridges.
Yes.
Bridges.
Bridges.
I was like, I know there's like
Bridges, Sarah.
There's
Bridges.
a word. I knew it.
So Co-Brown has a formal process.
I thought it was going to be more complicated than bridging.
They do with all, they're sending schools with all departments.
To be fair, I did think it was going to be more complicated than bridging, but
Yeah, no, it is Bridges, so we
the
don't.
one time it's a
But-
direct.
Carrie, extra
even an acronym.
bonus points if you can say what Bridges stands for.
Oh my gosh, stop it! It's like
No, but when we put in the foreign language at the middle school,
that's a great example.
the high school sent folks here to like school us up on how we did blend it in so that the kids would show up prepared at our high schools.
Good.
Even though it wasn't Latin.
It was not Latin, which I was reading.
much to your
But
disappointment.
it's been incredibly successful due to that collaboration. Like our students due to the support we received from the 3 high schools, right? And just gonna shout out to Oyster River because they gave us the greatest amount of support in that foreign language process. The percentage was, off the top of my head, 93 or 94% when we heard the readout from Oyster River this year that our students who are taking Spanish in 7th and 8th grade are able to achieve a B or higher, so A's and B's in Spanish too as freshmen. So it's been a wonderful collaborative process there.
Yeah, we could just do that with math, we'd be all set.
Working on it, Garth. Working on it.
All right.
Rich.
All right, so being last, I'll go fastest. I apologize, I did not print stuff out, so you have to listen to me, but I can certainly send you notes.
Thank you, sir.
So just starting with enrollment, we have hovered right around the same number for the entire year, so we are currently at 418 total. We have 90 in first grade, 119 in second grade. Yep, 112 in third grade, and 97 in fourth grade. We seem to have a few students move in, but then have some students move out pretty consistently, so it stayed there. Similarly, while it's always a focus of ours, as the other schools talked a little bit about, is just some information around our attendance. I think I would note, and Laura, I don't know if you remember, I want to say it was either October or September even, in our school newsletters, we sent out information to all families
Yeah.
regarding attendance.
October.
I think it was October.
School Attendance Month, I think
It was,
it's called.
yes, it was so lovely, nicely called.
And that, so just in terms of communication to all families around the importance and some of the, statistics that are out there around, how many days you miss and how that adds up. But as we look at our attendance in the building, if we just look at students who have more than 10 absences, we are at about 63 students, or about 15%. As Laura said, though, like, kind of not all absences are created equally. So when we really look at unexcused absences and think about the way our policy is written, we have 11 students in total who have 10 or more unexcused absences, which is 2.6% of the overall population. Other than a handful of students with those unexcused absences, which certainly rise to a level of concern, and the policy guides that, we also have 18 students who have 10 or more tardies, and I would venture to argue from a teaching standpoint and just the functionality of a school, sometimes those excessive tardiness can be more disruptive and more of a challenge. So thinking about the policy in terms of excused and unexcused absences, and under the definition of unexcused absences is also excessive excused absences. So we have about 22 students, or about 5% of our overall population, that we have sort of targeted with kind of a higher level of intervention in terms of letters and communicating to the families and having meetings when need be around trying to improve that attendance. So that's overall for the whole year. Thinking about attendance and how that relates to some of our student achievement. As I said, we just kind of took a snapshot as trimester 2 was winding down, but we all just sort of finished our mid-year assessments, thinking about our interventions. So I'm just going to give you each grade level. So in first grade, again, 90 students, and we have 33% of our first graders are in like tier 2, so like Title I intervention, and about 14% or 13 students are identified as special ed, which leaves about 52% of students receiving just tier 1 support, and this is literacy based. So as the grades go, in second grade, we're at about 18.5% in intervention and about 23.5% special education population. Grade 3 with 112 students, and we're at 15% in intervention and 25.8% who are identified special education students. And then in fourth grade, 97 students, which is about 18.5% in intervention and 28.8% are special ed identified. So certainly want to look into that a little bit more, which is what I'm going to read something now just to kind of give it a little more context. So our intervention uses multiple data points, including, as we've talked about, the Acadians benchmark, which is new this year, progress monitoring using iReady and DRA results. We're also using classroom observation and teacher recommendations to make decisions on student eligibility. So this would be for Tier 2 intervention. Intervention cycles run 6 to 7 week intervals. Those are predetermined. It's part of our schedule creating in the summer. We figure those out based on vacations and what seems to make most sense, and that we're not starting a cycle 2 weeks before a vacation and then have time off. Depending upon district schedule, with progress monitoring done on participating students at mid and end of each cycle. So during a cycle, students get a progress monitoring midway through, so about 3 weeks in, and then at the end of the cycle, so that we are constantly monitoring how students are doing who are within those interventions. The intervention team has also administered Acadian's benchmark screener school-wide, so for all students in September. That was part of the dyslexia screener. And then again in February to review whole school data and individual student needs. The intervention team spent the entire first cycle supporting students in grades 2 through 4 that had been active in the program at the conclusion of last year. So when we began the school year, we made sure that students who had already been in intervention started receiving intervention right away. And then in first grade, because we had not yet had those students, those staff were pushing into the classrooms. Between the start of cycle 2 and the start of cycle 4, okay, cut something out. So in fourth grade, we've released 25% of our students, allowing opportunities to support writing, math comprehension, and students with IEPs. There's been a release of 37% of our third grade students, allowing room for 2 blocks of math comprehension support, double sessions of reading support, and 2 interventionists, as Ms. Deely mentioned, that are now traveling to kindergarten supporting, how many students? 14 students, does that sound right?
Yeah.
That's the
7 and
ECLC.
7.
In second grade, we've seen 18% of our students be released, with room to offer up double session to 10 students in an effort to support growth. Second grade is also being offered 1 section of math comprehension support, and in first grade, we have released 13% of students through 2 cycles. So the point being, as students are coming in, we are releasing percentages of them. They are making growth, and we are releasing them, allowing that intervention team to begin picking up either new students or supporting with math support, supporting at the ECLC, just supporting in other ways. So as we look to some other things happening, some celebrations, you're all very happy that the New Hampshire SAS writing assessment is complete. So just to note, for those who don't know, the state assessment has, I guess, made it mandatory that all schools participating do the writing portion the first couple weeks of March, and then have flexibility with the rest of the literacy, so the reading portion and the math. I will just note, in comparison to last year we had a lot of families opt out, which gave us pause for some concern with regard to reporting this year. I think I just calculated roughly, and I think we are at 93% participation rate, which is a much higher rate, so I hope that is reflected in the data. I've mentioned before in here, just in terms of our outdoor education and outdoor nature-based learning and play with Tracy Ramsey has continued to be a huge success, and continues to add classrooms to that in terms of teachers and students being able to interact and have that experience with Tracy. I think teachers would celebrate that with the new math implementation, that there continues to be a level of comfortability and feeling much more comfortable with teaching and with the revealed lessons themselves, so they can deliver the content with the most impact. We celebrate that our UNH interns have all completed their first solo week, which is always an interesting, when you start finding the teachers in the teacher's room because the interns are doing their solo week. It's you know which classrooms you want to stop by and make sure that everybody's all right. We actually had our all-school field trip. This is now just because we haven't done principal reports. This was in February, probably one of the coldest, windiest days in February. We had our all-school field trip over to Wagon Hill. There was literally a dusting of snow on the hill, and every one of our kids had a chance to go sledding. I think it was literally wind-propelled down the hill, tumbleweeds and all, but they made the best of it, and the Unified Arts team just did a great job of coordinating and setting up a great day. We had Read Across America as well. We celebrated ours the week before February break. It ended with, so we did a masked reader. So each day during the week we had a video in classrooms, and students got like the masked singer, except it was a masked reader. And then on the Friday just before break, when everybody's energy level is like, or for kids anyway, like they're about to like hop through the roof. So we thought it'd be a good idea to bring them all into the gym and get them all wound up, and we did sort of a live reveal. I have never heard that building so loud in my life. It was deafening, but definitely a memory.
Who were the masked readers?
So it was all different staff members. So some of our Unified Arts teachers. Some of our,
That's so cool.
Great.
We continue to celebrate music in our schools this month. We've had some amazing performances, some groups from UNH, some of our own elementary and middle school band and chorus students. It's such a neat time. We actually had Miss teen Berlin
Gorham.
Gorham
Yeah.
play the harp, and then
So
she actually
relaxing.
stayed and did some of the music classes, like just something the kids don't typically have experience with, is seeing somebody play the harp, and it's been really great. Our areas of focus continue to be our monthly SEL themes. April is all about decision making. Maybe we can all make some better decisions. And continue to work on Reveal. Teachers are working on their year-end goals and artifacts through the professional development, and we are also working through our observations and evaluations. Our Kids Heart Challenge is currently going on. It's formerly the Jump Rope for Heart. So that'll be winding down. We have a goal of raising $15,000. The actual jump rope portion takes place this Thursday and Friday, so we'll certainly have more information. We have our Haven presentations will be coming up in the beginning of April. We use their personal body safety program. We have some grades, like first grade is looking forward to going to their first field trip to the Portsmouth Music Hall since the start of the pandemic. Garth?
Sir?
Pizza bingo.
Pizza Bingo, Friday night. So book fair is happening right now. Pizza Bingo's Friday nights. Our grade 3 has a recorder concert at the end of the month on March 28th.
I love the recording concert. Sorry. Oh, that's great.
For all that are listening right now, and we have sent it out in email, I feel like we have sent smoke signals. So the PTO is sponsoring a solar eclipse watch party after school on April 8th. But we need every family to respond to the permission slip so that we know what every kid's dismissal plan is, and or if they, we're basically getting permission from parents to give kids eclipse glasses, because we want to make sure the parents are aware of what's happening. So
My kid can stare at the sun.
that's all I will say for
President,
Thank you. They've only done one solo week. Don't they finish in a month?
They just did their first solo week, yes, I think, yeah. So I think they're,
What level of either excused or inexcused absences does it trigger a wellness check on a child?
So, sorry, you just put a mint in my mouth, right? Trying
That's why I
That's why
waited
you
to
asked
put the
me.
mint in, and then I
Excellent.
figured I'd turn to you and ask you a question.
So, truancy in New Hampshire is defined as 10 half days.
Okay.
So if we haven't heard from a family, I mean, it depends, right? If we haven't heard from a family at all, even if it's a day or two, we're gonna try to make contact and try to find out what's going on. If we don't get a response back, then we will often, in that short time frame, ask the PD to go out and make a wellness check.
So after how many days?
So if a student is absent the day one, and we don't hear from them, and we call and try to initiate contact, and then we try again the second day, and we still have heard nothing, then we will call at day 2 and say, okay, where do we go with this next? And, sometimes it's familiar families, and we know how to react, and sometimes it's not. And so it just depends on the who sometimes in our history with them.
And at what level does a excused absence warrant a wellness check? I mean, because you could theoretically call a kid in over and over and over again. Correct.
Yep. We try to have meetings and call people in and have those conversations first to try to figure out where's the barrier? Why is the student not coming to school? So it again, that varies. There's not a specified time frame when that happens, and it depends too if we've had that contact, that phone or email contact or not.
so the policy, to your point, Garth, says that it uses the phrase an excessive amount, so it does not specify a number.
It does not.
For a
which
reason.
would
For a
give us-
reason.
Right, to give us flexibility to determine
Yeah.
what we deem to be excessive. I mean, obviously within
So it's
reason, but
good that there's flexibility, you're saying?
I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's the way the policy was written.
Well, I think it depends. As I recall, when my son was in elementary school, I got the letter and had to meet with the principal, but he had orthopedic surgery, so there was he had an absence for an MRI, and he was down at Boston Children's, and he had surgery, and so that was a lot of absences, but there really wasn't anything I could do. We needed surgery.
Exactly.
Taylor household.
Sorry.
It's really
broken.
it's the repeated, if a parent calls in, they're excusing the absence, right? There's still an impact on academic achievement. So regardless of whether it's excused or not, technically, other than medical, of course, there's all, there's circumstances that can't be avoided, but that's when we want to make that contact. And we have pamphlets and all kinds of information to send out to be like, we really need your kiddo here.
And are like family vacations considered excused absences? They are not in Dover.
They're not? It's harder than Dover.
I'll add at some point that if there are excessive absences and we have academic concerns, or we have concerns about the student being able to access school,
Yeah.
it triggers a referral to special education, just to make sure that we are removing those barriers if needed.
I'm of course, worried about the academic stuff, but it's also just the wellness. I mean,
Yep.
theoretically, a kid
Yep.
could be, physically struggling somewhere, and a parent could be like,
Well, and having
Just calling them in over
having
and
the
over.
policy be not fluid, that's not the right word, I mean, but flexible, thank you, flexible, is good, because I think that the relationships that staff can build with families or don't get to build with families gives them the, not leeway, but the ability to raise a flag as early as even 1 or 2 absences when they see through their training concerns about that child's well-being. So it is good. But I'm glad you brought that up, because I think to a non-policy person, you would want there to be a very stern number, but.
right. Thank you.
All right, math curriculum.
All right,
Those
I'm
poor
gonna-
teachers, thank you for sticking with us.
I'm going to start them off real quick. I just want to acknowledge the enormous work that the committee started with and has continued with, and then all the teachers have put forth, starting last spring with some training and moving through the summer and the fall. What I'm handing out to you is our implementation plan that the committee made last year. It's a lot of districts just kind of out of, because they have to, they do a one and done. What I mean by that is you get 1 day of training, and then whoop, off you go, and you're supposed to just sort of do it. We thought we would do better, and so we made this plan. The things that are in yellow are either things that we haven't done yet, or that we are in the middle of continuing to do. We have all the trainings on there. We hired a math coach, and the cool thing about the math coach is she's also an author for the Reveal program, so that was really cool for her, being able to meet with our K through 5. In fact, she's coming back in a couple of weeks. We did meet as a committee 3 times, so last time will be in June. We created a math agreements. We did this with Cheryl Toby, the math coach, to make sure that, okay, this is what we expect from you year 1, but moving on, this is what we're going to do. So just wanted to share with you the enormous amount of time, energy, and really expertise that really went into last year and continuing this year. I mean, these teachers have done an amazing job. I know it's hard. Doing any program is really, really difficult, especially when you're kind of shifting mindsets and shifting the way things are structured. So big shout out to them. And just to also let you know, it takes a good 2 to 3 years to really get your foot on solid footing with a new program. So we just have to give them a little grace and space when it comes to new programming. But they've done a really great job. So yay, thank you so much. So I did ask a few teachers to come and speak to us. I have Lori Benincasa for grade 3 and Amy Tammet grade 6. Grade 1. Did I say grade 6?
You said 3.
3. Where did that come from? Not sure. Sorry, grade 1. Amy Tammet grade 6. They were also on the committee with us, so they piloted. So I wanted to bring them, but I also want to bring Josh Tubbs. Kindergarten, look, I got that right. Yeah, excellent. Because he did not pilot, so I want to kind of get that flavor. I did ask them to come and speak to you about the great things that are happening, the challenges that are going on, because we know that they're happening, and kind of what's a sneak peek on what's going on in their math classrooms. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge and speaking to us. I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to put the screen down for you. I don't know who's going first.
Is it better to use
can do it. Start with kindergarten. Is it better to use your computer or mine?
Excuse me. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, no, please, no. This is my chance to stand up and move around. Never mind.
Kindergarten teacher, he doesn't know how to sit.
Yeah.
Sit.
Yeah, they can't do that.
So thank you for giving me the time to share all the work that I've been doing to give these kids the best math experience that I can with the new math curriculum, and thank you for your time here. So let's.
No pressure.
It's few and far between that I speak with adults, so if you want to start like spinning in circles and talking out of turn, that would make me feel more. Okay, so I wanted to give an overview first. We met as a kindergarten collaborative team on what we thought were the pros and cons. So far in just the first half year of kindergarten reveal math, I think we have it here good. So we felt like the first unit, it's called Math Is. It doesn't get started in the particular math concepts yet, just what math is. It's part of my world, it's part of my story. And that's a good slow start, especially in kindergarten, as we're getting a lot of these kids who come with a range of a lot to little to no prior school experience to get everyone on equal footing. There are slides that describe themselves as notice and wonder slides, and that's a great access point for the kids to have a good conversation about the math work we're going to do for the day. The downloadable slides are helpful. Sometimes they're a bit repetitive, and I'll show you an example about that. Is it good so far? But those are helpful, and it's helped us create a consistent routine for math time. So where our previous math program had different portions on different days, this in general is about the same thing every day. So the kids are used to what the math mini lesson, what the math time workshop looks like. Different in different classes, but it's pretty consistent each day. The STEM in action videos are highlighting kids who want to be different things when they're grown up. So it's a great time for these kids to see the kids on the screen. They're usually just cartoon characters, but a great example to see if you want to be a music engineer or an EMT, how math can be relevant to what you're going to do when you grow up. And then the assessments. Kids are hearing different kinds of testing language. So sometimes it might be circle the right answer, circle all the right answers, different ways for the kids to interact with the material. The cons that we found are the math notebooks, the student notebooks that are supplementing the lessons. They aren't independent for the kids to do on their own. An adult has to walk them through it, read the directions. There's lots of different things happening on the page. They're difficult to access online, so it's difficult for us to show it on the screen and then close the computer for the day and then open up the screen. We have to re-log in, and it's kind of a waiting process and reloading and all that. So it's difficult. It has required us to be a bit creative in how we implement them in whole group or small group settings. The games that were given to us, we don't feel like they're as engaging as other games that we have that are helpful for teaching the math concepts and also just having that play-based, independent time to be working on a math concept as well as the direct instruction times. So we've added other supplemental materials for that. We would have liked to have more independent activities, thinking of like the games or other manipulatives for kids to be using, especially during our rotations or stations or math centers kind of time. Creating and editing the slides, while it's helpful, it definitely takes a lot of time, a lot of work to be able to make the slides work. I know for me personally, I want them to work how I'm teaching and talking and interacting with the kids, how I'm going to be going through the concept. The teacher website, it has its benefits in some parts and difficulties in other parts. It can be kind of hard to navigate to find exactly what you want to find. It is the first year, so we have time to get better at it. But I think when I have it on my computer here, I'll show you some of the difficulties that has made me choose to not use the website so much, but more the downloadable slides. Carrie, when you were there, I gave you the example of here's all the waiting I have to do, but here's the different route that I took with it. That was really helpful. The assessments, sometimes they don't require as much deep thinking, and then on the other hand, sometimes the questions are asked in a way that the kids have a really hard time understanding. The wording used in the assessments might be different than the wording used in the lessons. So we feel like we might have to teach the test when really we want to be teaching the important, enduring math concepts. As well as the assessments, sometimes we feel like they don't give us enough info for our report cards. I know for our kindergarten team, we've used our math essential standards to drive a lot of our work for intervention. And then we've also had to use created or found supplements to make sure that we're giving families the important information to show how kids are growing in math. And then from the special ed case manager, they said that the language can be challenging for some of their students on their caseload. So they want to be able to integrate all those students into the concepts that we're working on in their own specialized way, but they're finding, the special ed team finds difficulties with that. So my math time, I'll use the downloadable slides for about a 10-minute reveal math. That's my mini lesson. I'll say to the kids, it's time for the math lesson. And then after that, I say 40 minutes because that's really the extra 50 minutes included all the transitions from going station to station. So in a lesson, in the notebook, there would be a guided practice, which is I'm walking the kids really step by step. That's the Google Slides that I'm using. And then there's an activity-based approach, which is often more manipulative, but it still requires the kids to be walked through it. And I'm able to accomplish both of those to give the kids the mini lesson up on the board, get that into their heads to practice for the day. And then after we finish our 10-minute math mini lesson on the whiteboard, which I have an example for that up here. My station, I'll be using the manipulatives to practice the activity-based portion of the lesson, and that's where I do my best work for differentiation. So that's where I might be having different groups focusing on those essential standards that the kindergarten team has worked on, using the lesson from the Reveal book to guide my practice with the kids there, but using a lot of manipulatives, changing the pace up a lot. 5 and 6-year-olds, we're changing up the pace a lot. The third station will often be play-based. It might be different puzzles or matching games or games that the kids have played before. I also have a one-on-one para that's able to integrate at one of the stations. So I will have her running one of those stations as well. And then my fourth station is an independent fluency practice, where I've been able to bring in other resources for the kids to practice those quick math facts. And then in my own notes on my own implementation in my own classroom, I've enjoyed that Reveal has a lot of different components. The whole group pieces, some of the small group pieces, the paper and pencil tasks, and then also the guidance on the activity-based manipulative pieces. So having these teachers in the rooms, in my room, means I get to implement more and more pieces of this program. So having the classroom para run a station is essential to getting a lot of the pieces done. I've had to edit the slides to fit my teaching style, which you'll see up here. At my station, I'm having the kids work on the activity-based portion, which I mentioned, and the classroom para will do the notebook pages because the kids really need to be walked through that. I've tried some different strategies with that, and right now I'm trying out having my classroom para work on that. Or do SEL work or practice games. There's a lot of fine motor practice that the kids need that we've had a lot of need for in kindergarten. So lots of games are using your finger strength. That's your fine motor that we need to practice a lot, and we use that time. Sarah got us nice little clickers, which has been, as funny as it is, it's really been game changer, because if I was, otherwise I'd be stuck at my computer. I get to at least sit down there with the kids, whether I'm up at the board sitting on one of their little chairs or on the carpet with them, having a math conversation with them, and using the laser pointer to be able to point to all the pieces without having to leave the conversation from the kids. So I wanted to give you, as quick as I can, an example of the Houghton Mifflin online platform for Reveal, and then Reveal's slides that they adapted from the interactive portion on there, and then show you what the work that I've put into it to create as much of an interactive math experience for the kids. So my link should be here. So Carrie, you got to experience the fun. So I log into Clever, wait for it to load, log into McGraw-Hill, wait a minute.
All the children.
Yes, there are 18 kids here. Click on math. Click on table of contents. Here I am, unit 7. We'll do. I'm doing 7-1 as my example. Present.
Now standing on their heads, rolling around, picking their noses.
So it has some nice components to it. There's a number routine for some quick facts. You can move on to the next portion of it. Here's the part where it says you're being curious about where you're asking questions about what the kids are thinking as they're seeing this. And then what I just don't really like is that I have to come down here to scroll. So now I'm stuck to the computer, you know? And that doesn't feel as engaging and interactive as a math conversation that I liked with other portions of it. And now half the picture's gone because I had to scroll down to see it. Click on it, go to the next, oh, I don't know, okay, click here, because I don't use this as much. So it can be a bit clunky. The picture's up here, the words are down here, I have to click on there. I'll keep going as best I can. Here we go. So I'm using Unit 7, Lesson 1, which is subtraction. So it's a represent, take apart problems. This is the slides. So they took all those images. Some of them are animated, but they took them and they put them into Google Slides, and they did okay. But they kind of just copied and pasted, and I think they could have done better. So the math is mindset, an SEL-focused question. What helps you feel relaxed when you're frustrated? And my only problem is that the picture they have is the notice and wonder, be curious, math-based picture. So it's not about being relaxed when you're frustrated. So then they left the word reveal there, which was like on the interactive part, it was the button to click. But that's good. What do you notice? What do you wonder? I've done a lot of work around noticing and wondering. Kids this age, they have a hard time differentiating between a statement and a question. So being able to start their sentence with I notice and I wonder. So that's good. This is great, a good discussion starter. I won't read through every single slide, but it often poses the problem with a question. So how can Nico put the blocks into these 2 baskets? And then we'll use this discussion starter to tackle the problem as a whole group as best I can, and I try to keep it 10 minutes. So there's 8 blocks. How can you break it apart? Some questions here, and then it kind of goes through. It can be a lot of words. What I do like is that it highlights the key vocab, but me reading through this like in the moment, that's a lot. 4 and 4, 5 and 3, 6 and 2, 7 and 1. The think about it questions, half of them I think are really great. Some of them are a little over where the kids are at the moment, but they challenge the kids' thinking, which I do enjoy. I think it's helpful. And then work together, and that we use the concept, and then the learning targets for the day. I can represent take apart problems. I can explain how to represent take apart problems. They could be a bit more child friendly. I forget if we said that, Judy, in our team, but in just me personally, I would have liked a bit more child accessible. So now this is how I edited the slides just to make it feel more comfortable for me, more accessible to the kids, and have a more engaging math conversation.
And Josh shares this with, that's like.
Oh yeah, this is a whole, so this is 7-1, yeah.
So our guiding coalition, our collaborative team time, that's what this is all about. So Josh has taken this project on and shares it with all the other teachers as well.
So I'm at about like 10-5 right now. I'm working on it. And usually my routine for the day is after the kids are left, I'll sit back at my table and work on whatever tomorrow's lesson is going to be. So what I did was I moved that learning targets. That was Judy's idea. I took it, moved the learning targets up. I will usually rephrase this in a different, more child-friendly way. So we're going to take apart numbers today. I highlighted the vocab. We're going to practice subtract. Subtract means take away. It means smaller. It means less. The difference is when you make something smaller, something like that. And then they have these pictures, those birds there, the representation of the vocab in the back of the student notebook. So I went to the online version of the student notebook, took a screenshot and added it here, because then the kids have a visual, the 5-year-olds have a visual reminder of what the vocab is going to be. So they see the concept. Here are 5 birds, 2 are flying away. So I Google image searched relaxed child, and what helps you feel relaxed when you are frustrated? I don't often ask these SEL questions every single lesson, But I found like this was just a bit more helpful so the kids can see it and think about it more clearly. This is the question I'm being asked. And then we move into the Be Curious slide. I copied and pasted these images that were from the reflection pieces of the exit tickets, I think. And what their original purpose was, I'm feeling confident in the concept, I'm questioning the concept. What I wanted to change it to was the kids know that this is, I notice, I wonder. And so now the kids are saying, I notice that all the blocks are stacked up. I wonder why there are 2 boxes. I took this from the teacher book. There's a way to transition into the rest of the lesson. Let's think about different ways we can take apart the group of blocks. And I kept a lot of the words, but I also deleted a lot. You can use counters to show Nico's 8 blocks. So I added those nice big numbers so the kids can see them really clearly, so the kids are seeing what is going to be happening on there. I kept subtract and difference because that's the important vocab. And then I took out a lot of the words. Let's quickly practice this idea. We have to do it 8 times, so let's do it really fast. Let's get the idea, and then let's get into our math rotations. 3 and 5, 4 and 4. So I took out, there was lots of words there. I took out all the words. Made it a bit simpler for the kids to see. I'm wordy enough, as you can tell. So this is good for me because then I'll extrapolate and think of what specifically I want to be teaching the kids in that lesson. You can take apart a lesson, a nice little doodle to know this is the end, so I know that it's the end. And then I took screenshots of the notebook pages for the day. So this is where I'm going to have the classroom para work on them a couple of days a week. But you can see like the directions are down here, so the directions have to be read to the kids. I do like that there are lots of pictures. There are lots of opportunities for the kids to see math in different real-world applications, hearing math stories. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the notebooks there. For the assessments, they have performance tasks and unit assessments. Performance tasks will often ask them to do, I word it as like more creative things. So in here, they kind of ask the kids to be a bit more imaginative than I would like. And you can kind of tell the difference between the notebook pages being really colorful and interactive and engaging, and then like the assessment, it's just black and white. So you have to imagine that some of these tomatoes in the kids' basket are red and yellow. So the kids have to color some red, color some yellow, and then make a subtraction sentence, number sentence out of it. And then they have to, the tomatoes left in the box are red and yellow. Oh, wait. Cho opens a box of 8 tomatoes. She uses 2 of them. How many are left in the box? And then out of those, you have to color in red or yellow. I kind of wish that we had accompanying manipulatives to use with this so the kids could really show me that there are tomatoes in a box. And then same thing with the blueberries. This is stuff where we as a kindergarten team will have to have conversations about what pieces of these we want to continue using going forward, what pieces we want to adapt to more manipulative-based pieces. And then this is the unit assessment, so it's different. These are a little more concrete, black and white, and they are still black and white, which is, it's okay as you're trying to get a bit more targeted information. Some questions are better than others. Some questions are easier to understand than others. Some of them, so like this one, kids had a hard time. They had to draw lines to match, and just visually, it was difficult for them to understand. You know, you think of like match 2 things on 2 columns. There's a little dot on the side. They might be in a box or a circle to differentiate each item. So we, going forward, will probably review what the assessments and what kind of information they give us as a kindergarten team. This is a continuation of it. On a day that I give this, I can usually get them done in about 10 minutes. I might need a little more, and I might need a little less time, but it is best done small group. Doing whole group is really not possible. Just too difficult for the kids to pay attention to the paper, pay attention to me, go back and forth like that. The fluency practice they have in each of the notebooks. So on this side is the notebook page. Great, colorful and engaging. The only problem that I have with it is that there's only 1 fluency practice per unit. So in Unit 7, there's 1 fluency practice page. Whereas from other resources that I've pulled from, I think, Carrie, I had you using stuff from Terra West to be able to show like the kids in all different kinds of resources and stuff. So I use other things to give the kids fluency practice every day. I want them practicing the math facts quick. So these have some different ones. This is count and write how many, 5, 4. And then this one is a different skill, so it's comparing apples to oranges, but where an adult has to be reading through this with the child, I am able to show this at the beginning of my math center's time, show the directions to all the kids, give them a quick model. You have to draw more circles to make 10. Then I am confident, and then I see afterwards that the kids are able to go to the fluency station and complete this independently on their own. So they have that math facts really quickly done. So we have a great combination of good math conversation. Well, that's the end. Great math conversation, great math work with manipulatives, paper, pencil, and then also just your quick, cut and dry, direct instruction math facts independently and with the teacher as well. That's all I got, and I welcome any questions. Or if I'm not supposed to ask questions.
How would you grade the curricula? When I look at the list, it was, positives on one side, negatives on the other. There was a lot more negatives than there were positives.
Sure, yeah. I would say right now, I'll go B minus. Yeah. There's a lot that we're working out, that we're figuring out. I know that for how I've been able to integrate it, yeah, it's good. I've had to use other resources as well that I think are better in some parts of the program. But yeah, say B.
And thank you for all the work you're having to do. On a daily class, what percentage of your class time is spent on the curriculum, and on what percentage is stuff you've had to come up with on your own?
Oh, boy.
A lot of math questions.
This
is kindergarten math.
I figure it's the right
So my work time, how much time have I had to put into
How
the
much
work?
are you using the curriculum itself, and how much are you
Oh,
having
I
to
see.
deviate in order to get the point across to these kids?
I guess I feel like sometimes it feels like 50-50.
50-50.
So think about it, I use the reveal slides, and then they come to my table, and I'm using non-reveal manipulatives to do the reveal lesson, and then class and para sometimes using the reveal notebook pages, but also might be doing fine motor work or other curriculums. Just more and more to give the concept, so I can differentiate in different ways as well. Sometimes the differentiation pieces are okay; they could be better in terms of what I can give to different levels. Yeah, it kind of feels like 50-50. My first thought. Haven't thought about it specifically, but
Thank you for all the work. Seriously.
of course it's a pleasure.
You can tell.
It's a very well-run classroom. They are.
Thank you.
I was so thirsty after
All the time?
I could not hydrate enough after being. I was there only an hour and was like, oh, I have to go. I'm so thirsty.
And Carrie, I so appreciate you coming to really see what it
was
what it
fun.
looks like.
Haven't had
The
little
minute to
ones
minute,
in a
all
while.
the pieces that go into creating a thoughtful, direct, enjoyable math time to give the kids a fun time learning math.
Would you anticipate, all of your hard work on creating these slides that is now on a con, next year when they've been created, I'm assuming that you can use them again?
Yeah.
So that would be one less con?
Yes, they are
implementing it in year
there.
two?
I can make smaller and smaller edits. So as I go through the year, I'm thinking, I want to do this every time I make a slide. I don't want to have to go back and do that for the last 6 units. So when I get back to that, I remember I wanted to add the highlighted vocabulary. I wanted to add the pictures. So it's kind of every year I'll add some new things. So yes, that will become less and less work.
Bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being here so late on a school night.
I have my scratched notes on a piece of paper.
Different learning styles.
That's right. I'm a lot shorter than Josh. There we go. Okay. So I feel like I want to follow his up with what does it look like in my classroom too, because you got a great flavor of not only what Josh talked with his teammates about, but also kind of a day in the life. So I'm going to start by addressing what I talked with not only my teammates, but I got feedback from other teachers at BES. All grade levels at BES were asked for input. So I'm going to start with sharing that, but then I might go a little off script and talk a little bit also about like what a day in my classroom might look like as contrast. I'm first grade, so as contrast to what it looks like in Josh's room. So thank you for the invite and the opportunity to be here tonight. We appreciate that. I was here about a year ago. I think it was in the spring last year. I was in the pilot group and I did pilot reveal, so I got an opportunity to talk alongside Judy last year about our experiences with that. And so, gotta be able to read it. What is going great? So first of all, students are thinking and talking about math at deeper levels, and that is something that I heard across the building, something that I heard Josh also echo even beginning as early as kindergarten. All students in our building are able to engage, so especially those first two portions, the routines are very same, day-to-day, same routines. Josh mentioned that also. The first two components of our math time are components that every single student, no matter of math ability, no matter struggles they may have in literacy or in math, like reading comes up a bit in math a little bit later on here, but every single student can engage in the first two components of math every day. So in Josh's picture, you saw 3 boxes and he quickly flipped through them. That's a number routine that we start with every day, and that's something that students, it's kind of a cyclical, it goes back to concepts that we've talked about in the past. So all students are able to successfully engage in that, but even more so, the picture that he had up there with the girl with the blocks, we all start with that. That's our launch. Obviously, a different picture, not always the girl with the blocks. But every student can look at that, and they might notice and wonder, like Josh was talking about, sometimes they're asked, what questions could you ask? By looking at this picture. Sometimes they're asked what's the same, what's different. So every student is able to look at an image or sometimes a short video and have something to contribute and engage in that conversation. So successful beginning of math for everybody. We are also seeing that carryover, especially the notice and wonder, kind of that type of thinking is carrying over in other aspects and other times of our day also, particularly in science, but also in literacy. I was just working with some kids today looking at some words, and they were noticing vowel teams and using that same language. I noticed that there are 2 E's here, and in the next word there are 2 E's. It's probably going to say E again. So just that kind of way of phrasing their thinking is being carried over. Students in the pilot classrooms, Sarah showed some data with you 2 weeks ago. Students in the pilot classrooms across the building were reported to have been quick to participate and be comfortable and acclimate to this new math in their current classrooms. And they are thriving per teacher reports, also, again, per the iReady data. So we're seeing it in our daily interactions, and it's coming through in the data that the kids that have done this for a year, half a year, piloted, are already showing some great growth. Teachers really liked the opportunity to have choices. So when we teach our lessons, we either have the activity-based exploration or the guided exploration options, and the teachers are really appreciating having a couple of different ways to be able to choose to teach today, depending on your teaching style, your comfort level, certainly the needs of the learners in front of you. If you've taught a lesson one way one day and it didn't go so well, you have another option for how to reteach the next day in a different way. So those choices are really appreciated. And our teachers talked about the pre-made slideshows Josh showed you. My team is not remaking all those slides. I don't know if other teams are, but we are not doing what Josh is doing. I can tell you from in my own classroom, I do use the slides that Reveal supplies us with, and one of the reports from different teams was also that we appreciate the slides which guide us through each component of the lessons. So I can talk a little bit more about how I use those slides in a few minutes. Skill-wise, there were some specific comments at different grade levels. Second grade noted that students were solid with decomposing numbers and that was an improvement or a change in the past. Fourth grade noted that multiplication and division are being taught using area models and through partial products and partial quotients. And the teachers like that, and they're seeing students being more successful with that. So some specifics there. A case manager that I spoke with said that she really liked that students can be successful in the class for the instruction, and that those who are needing specialized instruction can be in class and then receive additional support in a small group setting. So we've appreciated all of the opportunities for professional development and training. That has been key. I've been in other districts when other things have come on board, and kind of like Sarah said, it's often a one and done, or here's your big PD at the beginning of the year, and then maybe you have like an hour, of something later on. We have really appreciated the multiple training sessions, both through Reveal and through the consultant who knows her stuff with Reveal, but can also kind of just bring a slightly different lens to it. So that's been super helpful. At the beginning of the year, it was a lot. It was a big learning curve. And so there's still a lot we haven't gotten to yet. There are many components with this program, things like the online pieces for students, not just for teachers. There are differentiation options. There are STEAM activities, games, different assessment formats. Josh was talking about the performance assessments versus the end of unit, kind of more traditional chapter test assessments. And across the grade levels, we're feeling like we've only just, kind of touched the tip of the iceberg with everything there is. And as I was looking through, the reason I ended up with this is because on my coffee table on Saturday morning, I had the emails and the information that all the teams had sent, and I literally cut them apart with scissors and was making like groups, because that's the kind of learner I am. And it's really, I feel like we're in like you got to crawl before you walk, and you got to walk before you run, and you got to run before you compete at running. I think we are getting pretty good at crawling, and many of us are feeling like, hey, I've got some feet, I can walk now. But there's just so much more here. So we're looking forward to some time down the road when we feel like maybe we want to enter a 5K, and I don't think we're there yet. And then at that point, we'll be able to really take more advantage of the full potential of the program. I think some of our challenges right now, it is language heavy. That was addressed once already. I'm going to be honest and tell you, one of the things I loved about the program, and love present tense about the program, is the math vocabulary. Teachers are using it. Students, much more importantly, are using it in their interactions with each other. When they're collaboratively working one-on-one, two kids, I can come around and hear them talk about difference or sum or these are the parts and that's the total. They're using that kind of vocabulary on their own, not with me in their ear going, what do you call that? So it's working. But it's a lot, right? And I teach first grade, so my kids only didn't have it for a year before, right? If I'm teaching third grade or fourth grade and the students haven't learned this math vocabulary in this way for multiple years, it's going to take us a little while before they get there. So could that be a challenge? Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Also, the amount of reading that's required during independent practice and assessments is a struggle. It's really a struggle at first grade because unlike Josh's, I was looking at that and thinking, wowza, that's a whole lot of no print. Like you were talking about reading directions, and I'm thinking, I don't even see any printed directions there. I'm giving a math assessment right now on subtraction word problems, and we only got through half of the assessment today in our entire math 4-page assessment. There are word problems written probably 3 or 4 per page, and we got through half of it. Tomorrow I'll be giving the same assessment part 2 because I have to read it to the whole class. And I'm one human. I don't have a para in my classroom. I don't have extra support. I have 19 first graders. Some of them are really high readers and maybe could do it on their own, but the structure of the questions on the assessment is maybe something they haven't seen before in practice. Don't want to teach to the test type of comment. But most of my kids can't read well enough to decode a math assessment, and I'm not testing their reading, right? So I've got to read it to them so that I know if they can do the math. And I'm hearing that same thing from teachers of students at older grade levels, right? If I'm hopefully a second grader or a third or fourth grader could read it, hopefully, but we all know that there are kids who maybe have difficulties with reading but really shine in math, and it's not right to put a barrier between them and their math success, right? And so the language really is something that is a real struggle. we're working around ways to deal with that, but I got to tell you, one human being in a first grade classroom with that much reading, it's a lot on the daily. I wish I had that para. Navigating the website is difficult for many teachers. It's not intuitive. Josh touched on that also. That was something that I heard across the building. We're getting better at that as we get more experience with it, but it's a lot of figuring out. So over time, students are going to get better with their math vocabulary. They're going to become more comfortable with the types of problems that they are exposed to in Reveal, those multi-step, deeper thinking problems where they really have to do some error analysis or design their own word problems with a missing addend or that type of thing. They're going to get better at that with time. It's hard right now. Their foundational skills will be stronger. And one thing that I heard from teachers was stamina with this program is sometimes tricky in the classroom. Well, I would expect that as we have better vocabulary so we can understand what we're talking about. We've got more comfort with those multi-step problems. We've got the foundational skills stronger, that their stamina might also build too. All grades noted needing to include, like as a teacher wish, like I wish I was able to include more approaches and more strategies to meet the needs of all learners. That was echoed across, all grade levels. Not for lack of trying, not for lack of desire, but I think it goes back to the crawl before you walk and walk before you run, right? We can't walk into year one of a program and be excellent differentiators running, all these different components of our classroom as, one person in the room the first time we're going through the program. So we know that the materials are there. We know that it has the ability to do that, and we know we have the ability to do that. It's just a matter of the time to get comfortable with it. And yeah, that's it. We're seeing great growth. We're excited by that already. Change can be hard, both for teachers and students. Again, we are super grateful for the PD. That's huge. And thanks for inviting us to share. I don't know if you have any questions on any of that, and then I don't know time-wise, I don't want to go into a whole nother thing, but if you're curious what it looks like in a different classroom, I'm happy to talk about that, but if you've got enough info for tonight, I'm good with that too. Report cards go home Friday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, she's going to write something I forgot.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Amy Tamick. I teach sixth grade math. This is our first year with a different program than you've heard of tonight. So from fifth grade on down, we're doing Reveal, as a lot of you know. And at 6th through 8th, we're doing what is called Ready Classroom Math. That is a partner with our online program for assessment and individual practice. So things that are going well. The technology pieces for us, I was listening to you guys that you're struggling with that. Our slideshows and all of our online components, and it could be because the online platform's already been set up for us, are super easy to navigate, super helpful. There's no waiting unless the internet's down. And they connect right to Google Classroom. So if I find, let me see if I can show you really quick, if I just exit out of this. If I want to assign this to my kids, I can assign it right here. I call it up, I assign it right to Google Classroom and I can give them directions, I can give them a due date, I can attach notes that we've taken right to this. And it all gets posted right to their homework or classwork. So let's go back to what I was doing originally. So there's a slideshow, just like I told you, to accompany all lessons. It's easy to project and it helps students follow along. It is identical to their work text. So they mix together. So all the discussions that we do are right there in front of them. All the work they do is right there. And it's also up on the board for me, so I can do the math out with them and discuss it as we go and give them a couple of options for solving it. Every lesson begins with learning targets, so we start with that every time. Here's an example. This is from 6th grade. of writing and evaluating expressions with exponents. It talks about them. We kind of reword them because, like I heard you guys saying, some of the learning targets don't have a lot of student-friendly language. So we start with that. They have built-in warm-ups. Sorry about that, sir. I like to move around. Is this even on? Hello? Does that really work? Because to me, it sounds... Okay, got it. All right. So same and different. This is just one of the tasks. You guys have similar things. Think, notice, wonder. What is the same? What's different? Which one doesn't belong? We always start with something like that. And like Lori was saying, there is a place for every kid to look at this and be able to give some input and be able to participate. So I'll have kids that say, this is the only box with an 8. Somebody will realize instantly that they're all worth the same amount. Somebody will say, well, they're, these two don't have any multiplication symbols. So there's always something that somebody can participate at any level. Going back to this. The program encourages discourse between learners to talk through strategies, use rich content vocabulary like you were talking about, and hear other people's perspectives. So that's a huge difference between any program in the past. It was just, here's the lesson, do your papers. There's a 3-read approach to every word problem, every lesson. We start with, I read it aloud, so they have a model of what it should sound like. Then one student volunteers to read it, and they're getting better at that. And then we all choral read it. So everybody starts at the same time, and everybody reads it aloud at the same time. And at first, they were like, they're middle schoolers. But over time, they've become used to that process, and they do it because it helps them to understand, what are we trying to figure out? What information do we need to pull out? And how are we going to get started? So let's see. We build a lot of routines like you guys are talking about. I think the cool part here to note is that Reveal is a very different program, but a lot of the components are exactly the same. So some of the routines, some of the warm-ups, the building the vocabulary, the discourse, it's all area models, all of that stuff that they were mentioning is stuff that we're working on. Stamina still isn't there, but we are still working on it. Ready Classroom Math closely matches the iReady online program, so if someone's struggling, I can assign them an independent lesson on iReady based on the topic we're studying for more practice. Let's see, rubrics and scoring guides are included. There needs to be more work on those. I'll get to that in a second. Assessments are much more accessible than the summative assessments we used to have in Math and Focus. What I mean by that is, Math and Focus used to do what Josh and Lori were talking about and give the kids assessment questions that are not necessarily phrased the way they've been learning it in the lessons or a higher level depth of knowledge than they've practiced at all during this lesson. There's a couple of schools of thought on that, but it makes some of the kids frustrated. Like, I did all my homework, I did pay attention, and now I'm going to get a poor grade. So in iReady Classroom Math, they're very much matched to what we've been doing, which is helpful. The kids feel more successful, which is good. Let me just show you a couple things. So here are the rubrics that I was talking about. They do include these, and they do include scoring guides. I think they need to really work on student-friendly language, because I can use this to assess them, but I want them to know what they're up against. It's only, giving them a GPS, and this is what you're aiming for, but they're not always written in student-friendly language. And if you look, they give 0, 1, or 2 points. We have a 4-point system. So there's a lot of work for us to do there. Things that we're working on. Pacing has been a bit challenging for us. There is a lot of reading and a lot of practice with routines and a lot of getting them to come out of their shell and share in front of people, because they're very self-conscious. They're not as self-centered as littler kids, so they don't want anybody looking at them. They don't want anybody to think they're dumb. So it's been a lot of prying, so we're going a little slower than we will in the future. One thing that we're working on is depth of knowledge on assessments does not go beyond level 2. So yes, they can memorize stuff and they can use what they memorized. But that's what they're assessing them on, and that's it. So especially for my higher class, I teach a 7th grade math class at 6th grade. We are using performance tasks, and I'll just quickly switch to one of those because, oh, maybe I won't. Never mind. Because it asks them to not only memorize the skills, but it asks them to use them and asks them to think deeper about it. So what if you do this with it now? And make a decision. What will you want this to be, and what will the outcome be, and how will that be different? And then I can add follow-up questions. But on their regular assessments, I've looked through so many for my 6th and 7th grade. With their regular assessments, it only goes up to depth of knowledge 2. And I want my kids to be able to synthesize that information and use it in a novel situation. And they're not asking them to. They're just right or wrong, right or wrong. So there's that. Other things we're working on, there's a focus on application. Not calling anybody out, but I'm old enough to know that back in the day, our textbooks were, here's your lesson, here's how to do it. There's only one way to do it, and here's 50 problems. Go home and figure them out, right? And you were graded on every one of them. So then they started adding in some word problems where you had to apply them. Now, if you open up and I brought somebody, I left them in the car, our textbooks, our work text, it's all reading. There is no page of practice problems. So that's something I'm trying to work on, especially with my lower math class, because they struggle with reading already, and they already are the kids that couldn't access it before and now have gotten it into their heads that they're not good at math. So now they have to read it. Well, I wasn't good at reading. I thought I was getting better at math, and now you're asking me to read and hear. So we're working on that. And I've brought in a lot of things. I've supplemented a lot of things and created a lot of things for them to feel like they can access it. And I read aloud to them when I need to. And again, just like you guys, there's only one fluency, skills in practice. They call it fluency and skills, but it's literally the same thing. It's a paragraph and then an answer. So I feel like that's kind of unfair. One of the things that I really want to do is create more. So if you look at the 3rd bullet point, there's a lack of rote practice. So if you're asking the kids to apply it, but they haven't had enough rote practice, there's no fluency in that concept or skill. So they'll read it, they know what to do, but they don't know how to do the thing you're asking them to do. So I've been incorporating a lot of fluency practice so that they read the word problem and they know what to do and can do the algorithm in order to get the right answer. So that's been kind of a downfall. And then, like I said, language heavy, but I think I've mentioned everything that I can think of. Are there any questions? I know that was kind of quick, but I'm looking at the clock going, everybody wants to go home. Any questions at all? If I can show you just really quick this is where I'm getting, so they do tell you the standard you're assessing. Are you able to see this? Mm-hmm. It'll tell you the kids will either get 1, 2, or 0 points and what lesson it came from and the standard you're assessing, but here it is, depth of knowledge 1, 2. So I took one of the performance tasks recently from my 7th grade book to a course I'm taking called Intentional Assessment Design and had them rate the performance task I gave, and it had some DOK 3 and 4s on it. So I was happy about that because I had already given it. But I just want them to, I've never actually gone through a rubric for a rubric or a rubric for a performance task. So that was a really good task for us, and everybody got a copy, and we looked at it, and thankfully, it was asking them to think a little higher than just getting the right answer. So I'm sorry I talked so fast. Is there anything you'd like to ask?
I have one question.
Yes.
So I always view school as like you're building the plane while you're flying it. So and I'm asking you a question for everyone that spoke tonight. What do you need to be able to adapt the math curriculum to those students who struggle with it as presented, like the language, if it's hard for them to pick up?
Logistically, I need a lot more time and trust, because I feel like we do know how to do it. And I do understand that there's a purpose for a framework and a program, but I think having a little bit of autonomy and time to know our kids and know what they need and create that for them is what we really need.
Can I add to that? Too?
Yes.
Just from the special ed perspective, I've been talking a lot with case managers about both programs tend to be more language heavy than they're typical used to, which incorporates so much reading, and we have so many students that are identified in the area of reading. So I've been encouraging them, if they're going to be pushing in to services, and the ELA block is shifty or whatever's going on, they can use that reading block because there is so much reading going on. So just to kind of support students in a different way than we typically do, because typically we take that reading and writing block to support them in their reading and writing goals, right? That makes sense, but it's now more heavily across curriculum than we have seen in the past. So encouraging them to support in different ways is going to be important.
I 100% agree with that. And just like Lori, I have to read some of our assessments and activities aloud to certain children, or because they can do the math and they can explain it and they have really good ideas, but they can't read the assessment.
Right, which is an unfair assessment.
That's
right?
really unfair,
Because
right?
that's not what you're assessing.
Right. So I just sit next to them and read it, and they tell me what to write, and they usually do very well.
So kind of to fill in some of the blanks, some of the things that we are doing, we did find time for them throughout this year, couple pockets of time during PD, which is great. I know we need more. They had a whole day over the summer, pre-stuff. I have been keeping track of, hey, what supplemental materials do you need? We have it all on a spreadsheet. We bought it. What do we need moving forward? We also know this year is fidelity year, so we have to really follow the program to know the program, and then we can move into integrity. So what does that look like? That looks like looking at what do we need to kind of shift around to change, to modify here and there. Neither program is perfect. No program is perfect. We knew that the fluency piece was lacking. So I know I put Amy on that one throughout this year. So these are little things that we're going to come back to in June to talk about. We also have a whole nother spreadsheet that teachers will be adding on to. What do we need to do with it? And then we're going to talk through those things, because we need to keep the integrity of the program, but also you don't want your teachers up there. Day one, no, right? That's not going to work. So those are some of the things that we're doing to tackle throughout this year, knowing moving into second year, and then by third year, we should have all those integrity pieces all done up and all buttoned up, have all the manipulatives that we need for K. I know they need so much more than they're given. I think you're waiting on a couple more pieces, so I'm very excited about that stuff coming for you. But yeah, to fill in those holes, absolutely.
I also want to add, May is here, so kudos to May. I don't think she loves a lot of attention, but kudos to May because she has been very creative with our Title I is for reading, right? So she's been very creative in thinking kind of outside the box for our struggling math students and how she can support them in the area of reading through math. So that's been a lot of hard work and it's been successful. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, thank you. And hopefully, as the students get used to the structures, and unfortunately, Amy's up in the middle school, it's going to take a few years to get up there. But each year, as they understand, they've heard the vocabulary and the structures and the reading, that they're just going to be stronger. So by the time, like third, fourth, and fifth grade teachers, I know it's really hard on them because the kids haven't seen it. And that it's going to take a couple years. But as soon as those structures come into place, we're just going to see them probably been higher. But
So as a district, and you feel you're where you should be for this part of the year and this part of the program? Are you where you think you should, or where you expected to be, I guess, is a fair...
I feel like we're, in some respects, right where we should be and further along
Okay.
in other places, which is great.
Yeah, yep.
I can't say enough. They've worked so hard and so
Perfect.
proud of
I
them.
truly think the key here has been, we've never done an implementation year in the 10 years I've been here. And, that's what the teachers have been talking about, right? It's that one and done training, and then we send them all off. And we've really kept those conversations, the feedback throughout this additional year of actual implementation instead of just adoption year, here's your training, see you later. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to muster the time, the energy, the resources to do that with English language arts as well, because that's the one we're tackling currently. So it's made a big difference. I mean, we certainly need more, but it's far above what we've done previously. So
Good.
I feel good about that.
Good.
Whew.
Thank you for spending your evening with us.
No, thank you guys for staying. Thank you so much for staying.
We appreciate it.
Good to report.
Yeah.
I mean, I know everyone wants to spend their Tuesday nights on a school board meeting until 8:30.
Bob's and policy, Carrie.
All right, so I'll let you get to
All right,
I'll rattle it
so
off.
policies.
Okay, policies for second read. JFABA, tuition expenses for Barrington residents, and corresponding JFABA-R, which is our lottery procedure. FA, facilities development goals and preparation of capital improvement plan. FBB, enrollment projections. CA, administration goals. And last but not least, CHD/BFE, administration in policy absence.
Dos.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Can I ask you a question, though, Deanna? At our last meeting, we reviewed the policy about fingerprinting, and Shannon Douglas from UNH spoke to us, and we said, oh, well, that's not really our policy, so is that policy going to come back to us revised?
Policy committee meets
tomorrow.
tomorrow, and it is on the docket.
Terrific.
We'll be back on April 2nd.
All right. All right, then. Well, folks, I told you not to fret. Here's your
was
second
fretting the whole
opportunity
time.
for public comment.
That's right.
Our in-person.
Dennis, like, get me out of here. Oh, right up front, right up front.
Center.
Oh, I thought you were jumping up to leave. I was like, oh, okay.
That too, that too, well, shortly. Just this brought up a really interesting point for me. You guys are making improvements to these programs, which apparently are a national program. Do you feed back into the companies and do they modify?
Absolutely.
Based on the amount of work we're doing for them?
Absolutely. Reveal.
We ought to charge them.
Reveal especially is like really accepting and then moves things forward. So both our math coach and the rep for McGraw-Hill, who's the publisher, we just give the information to them, and sometimes we actually see the changes right away. They are really responsive to what teachers in the field are doing. In fact, just to let everybody know, we have to get our new print materials early this year because all of Texas went with Reveal, is what I was hearing from my rep. So they're moving right along. But yeah, they're really responsive. I'm not sure about Ready Math as much. I just know about the Reveal piece.
Do they then give you discounts or
I
give you
wish.
benefits? Something that I'm just saying.
I don't think
Push
that's
for
a
it.
discount. What?
Yeah, even
They
just
charge
free
schools
shipping
more.
would be helpful.
I know.
Shipping is hundreds of dollars.
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, they did. If we buy the teacher bundles, they give us the digital for free.
All right, any hands online? All right, then I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I need a second.
Rick
Oh,
seconded.
sorry, I didn't hear you, Rick. All right.
You're just hungry.
It's the quiet one over here.
Yeah, sorry, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Of course, they already lined us out before we were done.
You're not.
I'm tired, but I still have to go to Boston.
I'm making something to call.